Thank you, Andre.
Whakataka te hau ki te uri, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā tara ki toi, e ake ana ki atukura, e tia, e uka, e auhunga, tie, mauri.
Thank you. Kia. So the first item is apologies. We have none. The second is declarations of.
Has come out? No apology.
Heard from Kamal? I'm sorry?
Have we heard from Kamal?
No.
No.
Have we heard? No. So put in an apology.
No.
No, you won't.
Might-
Okay. Just, or he may come later.
She might be.
Declarations of interest. Marie?
Item 9,
Thank
DRF application of the Hornby Community Patrol.
Thank you. And as there's been a declaration of interest there, we won't move them as a group, we'll move them separately. Confirmation of previous minutes. Do I have a mover and seconder? Moved Mark, seconded Tyler. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. We're now coming to the public forum. We've got 4 presentations. The rules are, unless the meeting moves differently, that everyone has 5 minutes. So we'll start with Birthright, Canterbury Trust, if you'd like to come and speak. If you say who you are and what Birthright's about. Thank you.
Rinako Tokato. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rodora. I'm the manager for Birthright, and today also we have Cynthia. So for this afternoon, we'd like to give you some information about Birthright, and we'll show a short video. And after the short video, Cynthia will tell you a little bit about her story being with Birthright. And if we have some time, maybe some questions and answers.
Thank you very much.
Our family is myself and my daughter Isabella, she's 10 years old, and our cat, Maya, and we live in a wee flat together. So I've been working with Birthright for a few months now. They're lovely people, really supportive.
Well, there's me and my daughter and my son. My daughter is
The
7
son.
and my son
Thank you.
is 8. We've been with Birthright for 2.5, maybe 3 years now.
Oh,
My
that's
home
good.
visits have been really good. She's always been real supportive, directed me in the right direction. So if I've needed counselling or support in other areas where she hasn't been able to help me, she's done that for me.
It's just a way of having access to other people in a similar situation and knowing what services are available to single mums. We've had access to food parcels when money's been pretty tight, and also in this last school holidays, they've had an activity at Clipper Climb, so my daughter loves that. And then of course the camp, which is just amazing.
I especially love the holiday parks, the camps here for my son, because he gets a chance of like a real childhood. He can just take off with his friends. He knows where I am, I know where he is. They can just go and play, they come back when they want to be fed, and then they go off again. I've met some really good other parents through it and made some lifelong friends. There's people from last year's Spencer Park camp that I still go and see on a regular basis.
Yeah, just knowing what's out there is most important, and be able to know where to go to call on help when it's needed.
There's always something going on with Birthright that involves families and children, people from the same background. So it's always fun.
Thank you.
I am Cynthia,
Thank you very much.
and I've got 4 children, and we've been with Birthright for about 3 years, going on 3 years. And directed us, me and my family supported us. One of the main thing was that my twins could be put into St. Bede's for the financial support of Birthright. Always getting invited to places, having personal visits by Birthright, like social worker, come to the house. The children are in sports, doing sports events like YMCA, that all through Birthright. And just meeting everybody, we all come together, meeting at Birthright building in Papanui. And then, so it's so multicultural, so many parents there with children, so the children get to hang out with each other, talk to each other. And then there's another thing that we're doing, pop-up op shop, which is for us closer with our mothers and their children as well. And that's teaching the children in their leadership, and making people maybe getting a reference CV from doing the pop-up shop for the older ones. So, and then we've also had visits to a marae, which is very interesting. We've been to marae in the South Island, so it's our first time to a marae, Reho marae. Other things, our teams that we get, like Temple bowling, circus, places like that we get to go to, get to help us with uniforms, right down to their shoes, school fees, and things like that. It's just wonderful support. They put me in a position where I can go to courses. That course that is. It's in the beings of building.
That's it's a course that Cynthia is interested in governance to trace her papa. So she said she wanted to do some leadership course governance. So we saw this ad about for governance training. So we send it to her. Please put her name down to attend it.
Right.
So me being here, it's helped me to try and get used to public speaking. I'm gonna have to get used to that. But this Birthright's done so much for me and my children. We're so happy that we've got this support. We wouldn't have been able to do most of the things that we are doing now. The boys are, being at private school, that's amazing. And having to do sports that they really love, because I think it's really important to keep them off the streets. So, and push them towards education. And we just got the my twin boys into Air Force cadets. So we're trying really hard to keep them busy.
Yeah. Thank you. Now I'm going to we've sort of gone over time. I'm sorry about this, but anyone who's got a question to ask? Thank you for coming in, by the way. It's very good. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank you for the work that you do. I should have probably known about you a long time ago. I've been a single parent for 15 years. So my question is, how do single parents find out about you, your services, or do you proactively connect with, I don't know, how do you?
So people can, thank you. So people can email us or ring us up and talk to us, or they also get referred by various agencies. Guess the reason like we're under the radar is we already have a long waiting list. So we don't need to be out there. They come to us because there's so much need. And in saying that, I'd like to thank the community board last month. I think you supported us through the discretionary community fund. So thank you so much for recognizing our work, and to your staff.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and sharing with us. Thank you.
And that was pretty good public speaking, by the way. You done well.
Yeah, well done. Community safety concerns in the Wickram area. Olivia Aliba. I haven't pronounced that correctly. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Hi, my name.
Thank you.
My name is Olivia, and I represent the Greens community in Wickram, and Awatea and Wickram and Halswell and Hornby areas. So just I think I sent an email file just to show you a bit of compilation. I will just have a quick run through with it. It's a PDF.
You haven't-
While she's sorting that out, I just would like to give a bit of a background. So so I live in 18 William Dawson Crescent, near the Gulf where there's always long lines. And then so I have a lot of family and friends in there. Not that we just knew them just because of living in there, but we knew them before they all transferred there and buy houses in there. And we know that those areas are booming, lots of builds in there. So now, since for I think more than 1 year now, that area is becoming a hotspot for burglary and kids on scooters just taking various things randomly in the houses, jumping fences, taking the lawn, anything that they could get, and then just like shopping in a grocery, looking at the cars and then smashing them. And you will be surprised that you would think that it happened today, tomorrow, they're not gonna come back. But you'll be surprised that they will come back next day and the next day. And we all know that just to have a bullet point, we understand that this is we cannot avoid everything, that this is not perfect, but this has been happening like almost every month or every week, even in my house itself, that my company car got broken into because we were very aware that not to leave valuable things inside the car, but sometimes you're too tired, you have many things that you're thinking about. So that was one time that I left my bag and valuables in there, and then I didn't realize until I saw on my bank account that there's purchases. I tried to trace and everything, but those sometimes those people, they know that we won't bother because most of the people in there working, lots of nationalities from, let's say, Chinese, Filipinos, Indians, new families, and they have insurances. So yeah, and they know that people are not brave enough to chase them and to confront them, so they know that they can always get away with it. Sometimes in broad daylight, scooters just looking in your eye, and then so yeah, it's just a real concern. That, and then besides that, so if we could just like click through just to show you those things. So I've compiled those ones that just a summary. I've handpicked just a few, but there are tons. And you would see there, we have a radio called Zello. So the one thing that, the good thing that it brought us, we became closer. So we know that, that person is living in Azara on the street. So I put my name as Plevia William Dawson, and then another person. And then everybody now has cameras on them. And we would monitor this, and then we recognize all the plates. It's been reported. So the community is doing everything. All the reporting in Crime Stoppers, police, we're calling. There's an ex-police there as well. But the thing is, all we can do is chase them away. And what will happen is just they transfer to a different area, right? But our thing is secured. But what if we have a person like Ben and Simon who are very proactive, but what happens if they get sick or they suddenly on a holiday, and everybody has their own lives as well? I help out a little bit by, let's say, 3 times a week. I will go in the hours like 3 a.m. and roam around with Grumman. But the thing is, so I don't know what the solution is. It could be more deeper or wider. There are a lot of theories, like more Housing New Zealand is buying more properties in there. There could be like, they know that those are peaceful areas that police that couldn't get into straight away within a couple of minutes, let's say. I'm not sure if the Hornby police station is active. I'm not too sure. I don't have. So what I'm just bringing about is the effects on the community is, yeah, we're sleepless nights, and everyone getting more paranoid. And like some are thinking like, oh, let's just sell the houses there and then leave somewhere else safer. Do we accept that it has become now a hotspot like the hood? And then, and yeah, so yeah, that's the
Thank you.
reporting.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I've got a question from Mark Peters. Thank you.
Thank you for your speaking to us today. As your local councillor, that's quite disturbing hearing about the activity there. I have heard about the group you've got going and your communications. Are you aware of the community patrol?
Yes.
And are you in contact with them about what's going on?
Just with the Hornby Patrol with Miss Marie, and they've actually did the rounds one time, and they were able to witnessed like a garage door open and they were able to contact the owner and things like that. It's really helpful. And also since there was an ex-police there that can that says that, okay, when you see this person, just call 111. But the thing is, not all people are brave enough to follow them. And what if they suddenly recognize your plate number and then go after you, and
Yep.
Yeah.
And I guess with that, are your crimes being reported to the police?
Yes.
Via 111 or
So
115?
yes, we all gather all the videos we can get and then report. Sometimes you can even recognize the face already, but sometimes even we report them, then the next month they will come back and then we recognize them already, and even the plate number, like the Skyline, the Lexus, and sometimes those cars are reported armed. But what we can all do is just to tail them and then keep holding them and just look after where they are and call the police until they get there. And that's the only thing we can do for now. So yeah, just bringing up all these things that has been happening.
Sounds like you're doing a lot of the right things. So thank
Okay.
you for that. Just one last thing on the Hornby Police Station. There are some noises being made at higher levels to try and figure out what we can do about the lack of manning with that. So
Thank you. Yeah.
keep in touch, please.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
So what action are you wanting? We're just wanting to tell us, or did you want some action?
To be aware of that, we all know that what's been happening, but I think that there's more we can do or the police can do. I know that there's a lot of lack of police resources. So we understand all that, but it's just that maybe we can do more, because or else it's gonna get worse.
Thank you. Thank you. If you like to leave the table, and Mark, I guess.
Just one last thing. I will pass on this detail to the community patrol to make sure they can loop in and up their patrols to help try and control the situation for you.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, sorry.
Yeah.
When I was patrolling last Friday night, I was in touch with Livia and letting her know that we are here in your area and this is what we're doing. So they know that the community patrol is there as well.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Livia.
Now we're heading into the issues at Copper Ridge. Carolyn Burt asked to speak very early on. Thank you, Carolyn, and welcome. So we have 5 minutes in theory, including questions, but if the meeting wants to move an extension of time, we can. Okay.
Tēnā katoa, ko Caroline Burt aho. I am a resident of the Copper Ridge subdivision, interestingly, just across the motorway from the Awatea subdivision. I've come to speak to you today about the development of 2 adjoining Kāinga Ora complexes at 376 Halswell Junction Road. The 2 complexes are one of 4 dwellings accessed from Halswell Junction Road and a second of 13 dwellings accessed from Liquid Amber Street, which is accessed through the Copper Ridge subdivision. That is 17 dwellings on a 4,722 square metre parcel of land. I am speaking as I wish to express another opinion. We are a new community and I feel overwhelmed by this. I have seen it cause quite a lot of stress, alarm and anxiety amongst our community. The management of the complex. The communication we received about the complex was dated the 14th of April 2023. And it stated that the contractor's hours of work would be between 7:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday to Saturday, with no work to be carried out on public holidays or Sundays, just like the Christchurch City Council noise control plan. However, in the months since we've received this communication, work has already been conducted outside of these hours on multiple occasions. I have requested information on how the complex will be managed, including the assessment of the community to enable the matching of the Kāinga Ora customers to the existing community, and how the management of the complex will be done. I have only received limited information so far. And as of November 2022, Kāinga Ora had not evicted any tenants. The agency had moved some households, with half of those tenants were those that have chosen to move away from disruptive neighbours. The resource and building consents for the 2 complexes have been applied for separately. For the 13 dwellings from Liquid Amber Street, This was approved in September 2022. It was applied for by Community Homes Torrens Road Limited, and it was purchased by Kāinga Ora. Exactly when is yet to be confirmed by Kāinga Ora, but I'm led to believe this was in early April. The resource consent was a non-notified consent, and the community was notified by Kāinga Ora by a pamphlet drop in our letterboxes on the 14th of April. At this stage, the foundations for all dwellings were in place except for one. The community has not been able to, nor has it been requested, to provide any input into the complex or its design. In the report decision on the resource consent, the conclusion was that any adverse effects on the wider environment will be less than minor and there will be no affected persons. If the two complexes had been applied for together, the impact on the existing community, that is the affected persons, may have been viewed differently. I have requested the approved resource and building consents for the 4 dwellings that will be accessed from Halswell Junction Road from Kāinga Ora. The design of the 13 dwelling complex includes mountable curbs, a footpath with a width between 1 and 1.2 metres, less than the district planned requirements of 1.5 metres, 2 accessible dwellings, no on-street or on-roadway parking, either 1 or 2 off-street car parks per dwelling, and 11 of the 13 dwellings are 2-storey, and the roadway is a 4-metre width. In the surrounding community, we have only 1 2-storey dwelling, the original farmhouse. The design is not in character with our current suburbs. The right-of-way width is the minimum required by FENS. The report noted that the mountable curb enables pedestrians and cyclists to utilise the roadway as a pathway if needed. Mountable curbs will also allow for vehicles to mount the footpath, and with the lack of parking within the complex, I reckon they'll all be parking on the footpath. This raises 2 concerns. How will the residents of the 2 accessible dwellings move safely around the complex? And the roadway will be reduced to less than the minimum 4 metres required by FENS. And with the lack of close public transport, that would lead me to believe that the residents will need a vehicle. The design of the roadway in that second complex is U-shaped with an extension. By the plans, at the end of the extension is a fence and the adjoining property 20 McTeague Road. 20 McTeague Road currently has a single dwelling, paddocks and livestock. The size is 4,335 square metres, nearly the same size as 376 Halswell Junction Road. The design of the U-shaped roadway with the extension to the boundary of the adjoining rural plot indicates that they have allowed for expansion of the complex. The size of the adjoining property has the potential to expand the complex to double its size.
Can I just ask, is the meeting happy to have an extension?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
I have placed many OIAs with Kāinga Ora about the complex and how they manage other complexes nationwide and have yet to receive a response. My questions to you, our community board, are: when did the community board become aware that Kāinga Ora had purchased the property? Will the number of vehicles per dwelling be restricted to the number of parking spaces provided with the dwelling? Are you aware of any other proposals or under development complexes for social housing within your area? And how can you help us? I have come here today with my concerns, which I realise may differ from others. At the end of the day, we are all here expressing our concern for our community, including Kāinga's poor track record of managing their properties and complexes, the disingenuous approval process of 2 non-notified consents, the lack of consideration for future customers and the surrounding community in the design, and potential for this complex to double in size. Thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you. Can I just clarify, you're talking about the buildings of Halswell Junction Road?
Yes.
Yes. Do you have the actual resource consent?
Yes.
You have got that. You have got that, thank you. And Just on that issue of if they breach the resource consent, you can email me or Faye and we can get straight on to enforcement. So any breach of the conditions can be actioned straight away.
Thank you.
But you have got wider issues. The questions, Andre.
Yeah, well, sorry, you asked 4 questions of community board, which I can answer.
Yes, thank you.
As for when we were made aware, so we were made aware from the emails from the residents that had been sent to us, so which would have been a couple of days after April 14th, I think it was April 17th. So that's when we were made aware. Your question around cars being restricted, do you mean would the amount of cars that those occupants are allowed to have? Okay. I don't think Kainga would have any way of doing that, so presumably they don't.
Sorry, do you want to clarify what you?
Well, I think the question was, will each property be limited to how many cars that the occupants can have? That was your question, right? Yeah.
The answer is no, probably.
Yeah, it's something that council can't control. Council can't control how many, car owners live at a certain premises, but I don't know if Kainga will have any processes around that. It will be a question for them. I don't know if they do or not, or if it's something they consider when they're housing people. If they ask how many, I don't know if that's something they ask, but not too sure. Other developments in the area, I'm aware of a couple. I'm aware of one much further up the other side of Halswell Junction Road, and another couple near the Dunbars Road side of Halswell. They are smaller than the ones you have mentioned, and I've been made aware of them, I'd say, within the last 2 months by residents who, like yourselves, have received a notice in the letterbox. And then so the residents have come to myself to ask questions about them. So I'm aware of a couple of others. Other elected members might be aware of others as well. And then there's on the Kainga website, you're able to see where other developments are as well. So I'm aware of that much. As for what we can do, my understanding is there's not anything we're able to do for a consent that has been issued, but we're getting what we're able to in as terms of advice goes, which we've got some from the Mayor's office today as well. Yep.
Thank you. Debbie, and then Gamal, and then we'll probably have to close things.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Also, we were notified today of the drop-in sessions. Have you been notified of that? Trying all of this up.
If they've delivered it to my letterbox.
Yeah.
Haven't been home yet.
Yeah, this will be in the
So-
letterbox today.
Yeah, it'll be in your, and just as a heads up, that there's 2 sessions. One's in a lunchtime session, Friday the 26th at the Halswell Community Hall, and 12 and 2, and then Monday the 29th between 6:30 and 8:30 at Night Stream School as well, which is closer to the development, but they're there. They will be there for those 2 hours if you're wanting to get with them further.
I look forward to reading it and understanding if it's just in reference to our development or if it's in reference to before.
It should be
Specific
it's
to this one.
specifically Copper
Yeah.
Ridge. That's it there if you'd like. to-
I'll read it.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
it is specifically for Copper Ridge.
Thank you. I've got a question from Pat Gamal.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just wondered if you have requested in a meeting with Kainga. If there is a public meeting or
That's the outcome of it.
We have a public hearing.
That's what Debbie just mentioned. Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we'll have to move along, but thank you. And Halswell Junction Road is the one that you're particularly concerned about.
But the resource consent that we have
Yes,
is for a section of it
yes.
that is accessed from Liquid Amber Street. There is 2 resource consents on that property and we do not have the resource consent for the other half of the property yet.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And we can do something about breaches of consent. I had an issue in Dovedale campus the other day and someone emailed me and I emailed the staff that afternoon and it was dealt with very quickly, any breach of the consent, like operating outside hours or noisy equipment beyond what's expected or earth moving beyond what's expected. So if me or Faye are probably the people to go to. Well, I'm being very kind here, Mark.
No, Madam Chair, this is probably a request of yourself.
Yes.
Is there a way that we can perhaps get a briefing with Kāinga Ora to understand more of their activities rather than being surprised by these activities from residents?
Yes, yes.
Is that useful?
I mean, my view would be to have a few of us, a few of Kāinga Ora and residents. So the three.
Or I have already scheduled some meetings with staff.
Yeah. I think they
We do
need.
have a board briefing with Kāinga coming up, and we'll be talking about this.
Okay.
Can we,
Thank you.
I know briefing is generally with us. Is it going to be an opportunity where we can perhaps invite? No?
No.
Okay.
Can I, perhaps if you could leave the table, we'll hear the other people. Jules and her sort of friends, and then we'll talk about action, possible action. Can I just clarify the men at the back? Are you here on this issue of Halswell? Thank you. Very mixed community. It's very good. Cross-cultural. Thank you. Now, Jules, if you'll, quite a mixture of people, isn't it? Thank you.
And this is Shannon.
Thank you.
So we're also here in relation to the Copper Ridge development.
Mhm.
Really lucky because we've just given you a quick briefing of what's going to happen, so we won't cover off all of that again. But so our intro to this is that Kāinga Ora has a partnership with the council, with private developers and other government agencies. So we know that a discussion has happened before this complex has come up. So we want to talk about the district plan around that also. So one thing we're going to cover off is the principles. The next thing we'll cover off is the district plan. Well, the question we have to you in relation to this particular area has 2 developers developing on it. It has 2 consents. It has a 4-house at this front, 13 at the back, 17 in total. This is really unusual to have 2 developers, 2 consents. All of this stuff going on in this. You need to help us understand, because in the district plan, 1 acre, have you got it here? Is
Well, in the residential development areas, there should be a net density of 15 household per hectare. 376 Halswell Junction Road, the land area is only 4,722 square meters. The question is from the board and also the council, why a council approved the consent for this, which is, the net density is less than half an hectare.
Can I answer that? And I've got a background in planning. The reason is when they talk about 15 households per hectare or 30 for medium density, it's going far beyond that. So that was an aspiration in 2015, but it's not a rule. So there's no, I'm not sure I agree with this. I agree with what it's legal, that an area can go well over 15 households per hectare, and that's okay in terms of the district plan.
The 15's a minimum, maximum.
And it was
It's less than half a hectare. It's only 4,722 square meters.
I know.
So why it was approved for a 17 household unit?
Because there was no rule put in the plan in 2015. So that's the reason. I know what people feel about it, but that's the reason nothing can be done, because it was a perception that would happen. 15 households per hectare for suburban density, 30 households per hectare for medium density. That's gone to 77 households per hectare. So in Riccarton, we've got the medium density issues, which are well beyond 30. No, yes, go ahead. So that's the reason it goes through.
So the first thing we'd like to put to you is in relation to the council. So we've covered off the hectare side of it. So in the consents under 95A and 95B, there is a subsection here on step 4E, which says, do special circumstances exist that warrant notification to any person not identified above? The answer is no. On the other one, it says, do special circumstances exist that warrant the application being publicly notified? The answer is no. And it's in the consent, it says that it's minor or less than minor. So that's how the consents got through. So in relation to the community, we feel this is more than minor or less than minor. And the reasons for that are the footpaths, which have already been brought up, and the off-street parking. On liquid amateur, which we've got maps here for you, which we can hold up and show you. We have got parking here on the left and the right, and you'll see a silver car in the middle that can't even get through. We've also given an example, if we park a car on the footpath, that either pedestrians or cyclists can't get past, or only one car can get through. This is where the driveway, the U-shaped driveway, is going to be. Also, just off this liquid amber lane is O'Leary Lane, which are all privately owned houses in a little lane. They're all going to be affected coming out of their lane, coming onto liquid amber, and then coming onto Bill Harvey. So not only is this driveway going to affect another lane, they're imposing their off-street parking into a space that's not available, which means that the off-street parking will then move to Bill Harvey Drive, which means it's going to affect the next subdivision. A recycling truck cannot get up there. Currently it goes up there and picks up the bins at the end of the lane. So that's going to stop, which means all of these, all over O'Leary Lane, will have to bring their recycling out to Bill Harvey. All of the Kainga Ora residents will have to bring their stuff out to Bill Harvey again, where all the off-street parking has been moved to, which once again is going to push out to Albert Willis and affect the other subdivisions. So the actual traffic planning around the driveways has been terrible. So one of our questions would be, why were so many houses going to be developed, and why were the driveway not on the property and less houses being built, so that the neighbouring properties wouldn't be affected and the neighbouring neighbourhoods wouldn't be affected? So along with this, we just want to move forward that there hasn't been a traffic management plan. So there hasn't been any consideration about speed. There hasn't been any consideration about kids on bikes or walking around this neighbourhood. The access to this neighbourhood is one street, as you'll see here, from Halswell Junction Road. It's called Albert Willis Ave. That is the only access to 3 subdivisions. So this Kainga Ora complex will be using that road. That's going to allow more congestion. I've gone out and sat there from 8:15 to 8:45 in the morning, 56 trucks, and I counted big trucks, not little trucks. Well over 200 cars were going by. The kids have to cross the Halswell Junction Road to get to the park and to get to a school. So this now has turned into a traffic management plan for the whole intersection of this neighbourhood. By bringing more condensed cars and people living in this space, means the safety of this has not been thought of. So then we have to address the SIPTED principles, which are, have we looked at the environmental design of what is this going to cause for safety? Have we looked at street lighting? Have we looked at where all this off-street parking is going to be? This is going to create dark spots. This is going to bring potentially crime to a space because there's more cars, more density in an area. So I'm putting to the council that this has not been thought of in the consent plan. The SIPTED principle has been touched on, but it's not been addressed. The traffic management has also been looked at, but not been addressed. So the ongoing effects of these things mean that council and people within the council haven't talked. So we'll just move on from that. We just wanted to talk a little bit Kainga. Have we got enough time to get through these?
Can I get, thank you.
So the partnerships between Kainga Ora are with everybody, as we mentioned at the start. So we know that they sit and they have discussions. Kainga Ora has not had the discussion with the assisting community. There's been no communication. The only way that you guys have found out is through a letter being dropped and us having to notify you. So Kainga's principles are, they want to build relationships and they want to strengthen and enhance the community, the customers, the stakeholders. And they want to do this by being informed, participate, and have a say on the matters that are important to them. They also want to build partnerships on trust, respect, and reciprocity. Is it reciprocity? So to build a community, the first thing you do is you have a conversation. Whether you're overseas or you're in New Zealand, if you're overseas, you want to go to a village, you talk to the chief. You bring people together and you put the issue on the table. This is a community that's diverse, it's cultural, it's got elders in here, it's got kids all running around this neighbourhood. We built this ourselves in the last 3-4 years. We have united, we've come together and we're a strong community. We have not been a part of this discussion. We have not had a voice. We are now your minority. We are all hard-working individuals. All we want is a voice. We would like to speak to Kainga face to face. We would like to speak to anyone that will hear us so that we can talk about and come up with solutions to move forward. One of the other key principles with Kainga is they don't want to speak at people, they want to speak to them. This is, once again, has not happened. So we could sit here all day long and we could talk about that, so we'll move on. So there is a moral obligation here, and the moral obligation is to include your community. Speak to them. Have a conversation face to face. Come up with solutions that are going to include everybody. We also have a petition, which you've seen, which is 157 people have signed it. That's a summary of how people felt in the short time we had. That's not actually how people feel. I would love those 157 people to come and speak to you. Let them have a voice. Let them come and say their opinions or their feelings. This is just an example to give you a start of how everybody's feeling about it. So in your little pack, you're going to have, obviously, the main stuff that we've mentioned today. We do have a breach here for you with your photos on Anzac Day that we'd love to hand over. It's in your pack, so it's all good. We'd also like to make you aware that on the website currently right now, there are 2 builds in Halswell. No other builds have been mentioned from the day the letter was received until today. This website has not changed. So the developments and the developments you're talking about are not on Kainga's website.
Yeah, it's those 2 in the middle.
Oh, those 2 there?
Oh, sorry, can you turn it back around?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the 2 in the middle. The 2 in the middle I was familiar with, yeah.
Okay, so that one's not on there and hasn't been from day one, which breaches section 50, which means that Kainga must publish details of specific development projects on an internet site. Kainga must publish on its internet site a list of specified development projects. So they have not done that. So there is proof that they also haven't done that. Now we've just got to move on to the petition. We've obviously put a petition forward. The questions that come with that petition are, we would like to hear back in relation to the petition, please. We would also like, I'm sorry,
Petition hasn't been received as a petition. It didn't come.
we can forward it to you today. And
That's not.
No, I don't mean it like that.
Council requirements for a petition.
Are you able to speak up a little bit, Faye?
Sorry.
I mean, I've sent it, I got something this morning, it's sent around about 2 o'clock this afternoon, but we can't have it as a petition. So it's just got to really be a statement. I know that's a bit technical, but that's probably how it's received at this point. The statement from the 150 people.
So since the 14th of April, we have communicated with everybody we can. We've asked council for advice. We've asked the process of how we go about doing a petition. It's been really clunky. We haven't got a direct answer, and we've submitted the petition well over last week, 2 weeks ago, and we emailed it to Kainga council. We've done everything we can as a community, but the response coming back has been super clunky, and I don't understand the process myself. And so to hear that today, that's quite disappointing because I've done everything.
I wrote and said that it will.
I don't think, look, in some ways, I don't think that matters either. You chose to come, and you can only come to us or to council. So a call was made to come to us. That's fine. And it's, I mean, we have this now for the statement from you. So we can't have it as a formal petition. But I think it's in terms of the impact, what we can do is much the same, I think. It doesn't actually vary what can be done, which is the issue. Now I've got, have you finished or shall I?
Also like to give you the 4-page for the 4 houses that's come through and just point out to you that it was rejected due to manoeuvring of parking in the driveways. And that's probably the main one for that one. So once again, although that was rejected, they're fixing it, but they have to do a maneuver, which apparently they said in the consent they'll get used to over time. Yeah, it's a very funny little.
Looks like it's been tailored
Yes.
to
their
the
needs.
project,
Yeah.
rather than getting the design to be tailored to the consent requirements.
It's very, can I say, it's
So we just want to deal with that as
very
well, so that they're aware
standard
of it.
practice. It's not, so what you've got here is something that's happening across Christchurch, I think. But
Can we summarise for you? So
I mean,
we can move
yeah,
on?
proceed, yeah.
Yes.
Helen,
And-
can I just quickly ask?
Yeah, sure.
Give you time.
I've got a question from Tyler though.
Can be.
Yeah, I just want to know, is this not being accepted as a petition because of the wording of the petition?
It doesn't comply with standing orders and there's, yeah, too many words, basically.
It's
Standing
So
orders.
The number of words.
yeah,
So if
it's
they're
a
wanting
number
to
of words.
present as a petition, are we able to help them reword it?
Well, we
We
could.
can do, but they won't be able to present, it's already presented on it now, so it doesn't really matter.
We can see.
No, I don't think, I think in terms of the outcomes, I don't think it matters actually. I mean-
Can I just clarify a point?
Yes.
Madam Chair, so the petition's got to us, which was stop the ongoing development by Kaingaora, which we aren't legally able to do. The number 2 is fully consult local residents on any future proposals. It depends on what the development is as to whether the developer has to notify or not. That's their legal obligation. But if they're not legally required to consult, a developer, whoever it may be, may not choose to. So
It's a moral obligation.
Well, I
So
understand
we can
that.
sit here
I
all day
understand.
along and
Yeah.
talk about legislation, but the
Yeah.
consents have passed, so we can't fight that.
Yeah.
So we're here as a community to
Yeah.
fight a voice.
Yeah, so but
We're here because we,
Yeah.
sorry, we just
Understood.
really truly
Yeah, I
believe
understand.
that our voice is important. Nobody's
Absolutely.
heard us.
Yeah.
And when you're building the community, that's important.
Yeah. So,
And-
but what,
Can I actually just come in? Can I get the leave of the meeting to continue, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
yeah, sorry, can I just
Yeah.
clarify the point? So while then may not be legally possible, we're still able to go and find out this information and still able to work with you regardless. We're still able and willing to do that.
I think Kainga and the council are obliged to do this because I think the conversations happen, but it's happened behind doors. It's now come out and people are talking about it, but the conversation needs to come to the table.
The consent has a date of September and the 4-house consent was done in December 2022. So obviously there's been conversations before that. The plans have, it was always meant to be public housing. It's not a surprise for them, I'm sure. It's a surprise for us. But there's people that knew about it and we haven't been told.
And it was signed off under a private developer at the beginning?
Yeah, so this is a loophole and this is
Yeah.
happening all over New Zealand. And I don't know if you've just seen what Shane Jones has got up in Kerikeri and said. It's happening in Rotorua, it's happening all over the place. This is a loophole. But Kainga is working with local council. They're also working with partnerships and private developers. The private developers is buying the land. So the name that the land is under their name. They're laying the foundations and all the works. And then Kainga comes in and they change the ownership and then they notify the public. So you can't tell us that that's not sneaky and that's not transparent. Because there's a quota that you have to meet at the moment with Parliament and the 5-year strategic plan to build social housing. So we're not here to fulfill a number. We're here to build a community. Some of us have just built houses. We're renting houses. We've got kids. We could go on and on about that. We're here because we're a community. This is not working with a community. And what's happened here is a prime example of this. This is happening everywhere in New Zealand and it's going to continue. It's not just for us. We're here to fight for the rest of Christchurch as well. So we're not anti it. Just come and work with us. 2 houses would have been acceptable, maybe 3. That's 17 houses on a complex that's going to affect a neighbourhood is not transparent, it's not honest, it's just not working with the community. And that's not what we do as Kiwis.
Okay, thank you. I've got a question from Tyler and then Mark.
Kia ora.
Sure.
Just a question around your point 1. Did you want to stop the development or put a halt to the development?
So originally when we received the letter, there was a moment of shock. So the neighbourhood got together. We didn't have much time because the framing was already going up. So our initial thought was everybody wanted a conversation. So the only way we thought we can have that conversation is if we stop the development, get the conversation. That hasn't happened. So as time's moved on, potentially the wording in the petition might change. And maybe, you know, that's something we're willing to adapt for, because what happened on the 14th to now, the roofs are nearly going on. And the last week, the building has just absolutely gone up. So we're just not getting that chance for that voice, and time's not on our side.
Okay, and you're highlighting community. So to be frank, are you worried that those social housing complexes will provide more antisocial behaviour or increase an uptick in crime?
I think that's an obvious conversation, and I don't think we're here to have that, but I agree with you. Yes, it does bring that, and it is proven throughout Christchurch that those complexes do bring those social issues and they do bring crime. I think the biggest thing here is that we're potentially at a stage we're not going to stop this, but what we can do is help other neighbourhoods. So the conversation just hasn't happened. We haven't even had a chance to, we're not anti-social housing, bring in 3 or 4. Make it reasonable that what's in the neighbourhood.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you for coming in. This is absolutely amazing. Yeah, the lack of consultation and community inclusion. Have you approached the local MP who happens to be the Minister of Housing?
Yes, we did. The first conversation we had was with Minister Woods. The response we got was not neutral at all. It was quite one-sided. And to be honest, we would have expected a little bit more openness, or at least a chance to kind of voice our side of the story. And that's why we've tried all possible avenues today. Yeah.
We're feeling a little bit stuck at the moment because we've gone out of our way to connect with the local MP, councillors, and we're going to be really honest because we want to be transparent. If we're going to ask for it, we have to be. It's been a really bad response back. It's been really clunky back to us. So we're sitting here in a bit of a struggle right now that we don't have many options moving forward. I think a conversation needs to be had. Whether it's going to happen, to be honest, I don't know. I think the conversations have already possibly happened behind doors. So
rest assured, we will ask questions further, and we will talk with the likes of Megan Woods and our own council staff and try and figure a way to improve this process.
Yes. Okay, so any final question?
I'd like to ask you, Madam Chair, and our board advisor. You mentioned that we're having a briefing with Kaingaora, unsure when, but I'm assuming that by that stage the complex will be fully developed. Is there any chance of bringing that meeting forward?
Next briefing session.
Which is
2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
7th around towards the end of the month.
Towards the end of the month. Seems like we've had.
We're really open to a resolution of maybe if some of you could meet with Kainga and a few of us. We're really open to that on the table, so that at least some people can have a voice.
I mean, I think there's a couple of options I've thought of. One is that we write to Kaingaora expressing your concerns as a board. And secondly, that we try and organise a meeting with 3 of us, 3 of them and three residents. So that's just what I've thought of.
I wrote to Kaingaora the very day I was initially contacted by residents and asked for lines of communication, and we've got 2 meetings coming up as well, which there's no reason we can't be there. Some of us can choose to attend that as well. In terms of a clunky process, so a number of us have heard from different residents around. So there's been some responses from us going to different places. We've been hearing from different, some gone to Helen, some gone to Deputy Marie and myself. What would be the best line of communication between yourselves and council going forward? I noticed there's a Copper Ridge email address now, which is really good. Should we be sticking to that in terms of the,
I think what we'd like is to give our community the opportunity to speak to you, because we're here on behalf of them. We're not here for our own voices. We're here so that others can have a space to come.
Yeah. In terms of avoiding a clunky process, what would be your preferred line of communication with us?
Okay.
Makes it cool.
So an email, and who would you send it to? Would you send it to Faye, and who sends it around us? Is that what process would you like? We can do it.
The reason we asked that is because several of us have been contacted.
Yes.
So we want an essential point of contact for the board.
Would that be easier for you guys to have one central point where you all get it?
If you
We can
give it to me, I will make sure everybody sees it.
We're open to that as long as we have one point of contact for our community, that anybody could contact you and this.
Yes, I think so.
That would be fantastic.
At present, anyway, we could go with anyone can email Faye who will send it round. But you can have a spokesperson too.
Yeah. Also, well, what's happened with Kāinga Ora, they've done the 2 meetings because we've asked them for that. We've asked for one big meeting and they've refused it. We've asked for no drop-ins. They've given us 2 because we asked for 2 times to fit maybe people that are at work and during the day to counteract, giving people the option.
So look, if you're comfortable with this, we'll stand back, if you stand back from the table, and we'll have a discussion about options. We don't have huge amounts of time because you're a public forum, but we will try and get some clarity as to the options.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And I appreciate,
Thank you.
Because she's been dealing with.
I sort of appreciate the number of the public here too, actually. Thank you. So it's very good. So where do we go from here?
The way forward as I see it, so there has been a response from the Mayor's office today which relates to the consent issues and questions raised around that.
Okay.
So that will be communicated back to the residents.
Okay.
There were some further questions raised today around consents, which I don't think had been discussed prior.
Yeah.
So I imagine if the residents could then respond to this response today with those questions around consent aspects, then we can get actual advice on those.
Breaches of.
Well, they'll be able to address all points raised around consents, absolutely. There's
So can you send it to me, Andre, and I'll, because the other board members need to see it as well.
yes, yeah, it's just come through this afternoon.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. There's 2 drop-in sessions, and then there was talk about a meeting as well between board members and Kāinga Ora and residents. Whether that differs to these drop-in sessions, I'm not too sure.
Briefing the next one.
And we've also got a briefing coming to us as well. I'd suggest that probably these drop-in sessions make the most sense because residents have just been letterbox dropped around them. So that's probably the best starting point, those 2 drop-in sessions. But
I've got a view that, I mean, if it was us, we'd probably call a public meeting, and if it was us. So I have some concerns about the drop-in sessions, but is there do people feel comfortable with trying to get a meeting with Kāinga Ora and residents?
Well, we've asked, Helen, with respect, we've asked that, and this is what they've come up with drop-in sessions. But I have been
asked them in writing. Can't we ask them in writing formally?
Well, we certainly can, but I also know that the public can turn drop-in sessions into meetings. We did that at the Hornby Rugby Club regarding a drop-in session. So, but that was to do with council and, but this is now Kāinga Ora.
Yes. So look, if you're comfortable with, if you're comfortable with this, we'll try and get a meeting with 3 of us, 3 Kāinga Ora reps and 3 residents to sit around the table.
It's the whole board, but
the whole board.
It's not all too late.
Well, I think they need to talk about the lack of process. It's the process issues too, isn't it? It's not just the what's happened. It's not just the outcome. It's the process.
This is something that could
It affects
be discussed
everyone.
at the briefing with.
No, I think it's too late.
But if we're talking a retrospect meeting, what would be the urgency on a retrospect meeting? You know what I mean? I'm just.
I think there is some actually. I think it's a much wider issue than just one development, because it's happening all across our board.
Yeah.
I can point you to a few. With a similar set of activities is happening. So if we can get the whole board to meet, we may be able to persuade them to change their tactics, because at the moment they appear to be fairly underhand.
So we've got a possibility of the whole board.
Can you just clarify the difference between a drop-in and a meeting?
Now we've tried at Halswell, and this is Halswell quite a while ago, about 3 years ago. We were having, it wasn't a drop-in, but they wanted to break up into small groups. And the people said, no, we don't want that. And they had a public meeting where you had, I think it was about the libraries, I can't recall what it was now, but it was very successful at the end of the day because you had about 100 people in the room, probably quite frustrated, but everyone heard everybody.
Yeah.
And then at the end, yeah, it's more that you hear everybody's views.
Yeah.
And the agency, it was us at that stage, or it was council rather than another agency, picked that up. And everyone calmed down and got on with things. Probably some modifications too.
So
It was might have been before Andre was on the
Make the drop in start
So drop in,
of a particular time, so everyone's there at the beginning, and then
yes,
But it's
yes.
not our call because it's been called for by Kainga.
yes. And they obviously don't, I don't think they want a public meeting, but I might be wrong. I haven't spoken.
But yes, everybody could turn up at the same time and ask for it to be a meeting.
Yeah. Well, there's two drop-in clinics, drop-in sessions, and we're going to get a briefing from Kainga Ora. I feel like if those drop-in sessions don't, achieve that line of communication that the residents are after, and that's where you seek another meeting.
Well, our briefing is before that. Our briefing is before those drop-in sessions.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, that's even better. So it feels like we've got that underway.
Yeah.
But if we say to residents, oh, there's also going to be a third meeting, it's telling residents that there's three different things going on.
That's why I was hoping that.
Or more confusing.
That's why I was hoping that our briefing could have included the residents.
Are you wanting to try and bring our briefing forward, or do you want to keep it at that set time?
Well, I'd like it to be brought forward because of the.
Well, it's a program that it's our next slot.
So we go
Okay. But I would like to and have it open to, because of the,
No, that's not our call to do yet.
We can write them and asking for it.
uh,
I mean, whether they say yes is another issue.
that's right. Are we able to?
We can write if we want.
and
if
ask
the board
them-
approves of that. We can write as a board.
Asking them-
Ask them to meet.
With the
a small
residents
group.
at our briefing.
No,
No, I don't think we do it at the briefing, but we could ask for a meeting around the same time. If you felt you wanted that. I mean, that's one option. There's probably, yes, it's the briefing is a bit late for us too, isn't it? In hindsight.
Well, the real question is, at what point in the design phase is this underway?
Well, it's under.
So you're saying the foundations,
The frames have been-
We can't.
okay.
The last week it's gone from foundations to frames very, and nearly roofing very quickly.
Okay, so have those design aspects been altered for that driveway to make those maneuvers?
So the third,
Nothing's been altered.
No,
Nothing's exactly the same as it was in the conservation.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my experience with Kainga Ora, because I'm working with them on two developments here, one's on Riccarton Road near Shane Crescent, and the other one is the old work hotel site. That's the one that's quite controversial at the moment. My dealings with Kainga Ora have been very good. Zoe Puke is one of the best communicators in Kainga Ora.
Yes.
So I think that would be extremely valuable to talk to her about that.
She's a good.
I'm quite happy to start that relationship with the board, and then the board work with the residents about that. Her name's Zoe Puke.
No, yes, we had a very good, I was saying to George, we had a very good experience in Riccarton Road, where Amanda came in and spoke to the board and then went off and spoke to residents groups. So it's that process around that I thought was really good.
Those drop-in clinics are very beneficial if she's leading the cause, because they actually listen. And they did change the design phase in the work hotel site because it wasn't underway. There is a big difference between the Halswell site now, because it's already underway, in comparison to the work hotel site. So there may be a sense of urgency in your opinion, for sure.
Yes.
But I think that it's really valuable to actually talk to one of the movers and shakers in Kainga Ora. I'm more than happy to connect Madam Chair to Zoe and then
Can we as a board support Tyler's offer
if you're happy
to initiate a conversation?
It's really up to the board.
because I'm working closely with them
That's
already
right.
around
Okay.
Riccarton.
So
If you think it'd be good, then
are we
yeah.
able to put down that you'll contact?
And I'll just leave it at there. I'll just leave it at that. It's no problem.
Thank you.
And that we will look at and we possibly might look at a meeting.
She's probably not going to let me drop her name, but I'm
Subject.
YouTube, but
Can I ask, because
Marie.
if Tyler is working with Zoe in the Riccarton, maybe because in the Halswell, James is the one working here.
correct, so he'll be the Zoe,
Be the
most
one,
likely.
he'll be the
But they can
Zoe
work
in
together.
Halswell. And I had a chat with James a day after I talked with these lovely people here behind me. And James was had mentioned that they had tried to come to our board weeks before, but the timing wasn't, I mean, they didn't get the timing at that stage. They tried to come. Kainga Ora, yes.
Wow.
Yes, they did try to come before then, but then, so now their briefing with us is more to do with the development in our whole board area. And so the Halswell one is just one part of it, that they're coming to us about on that briefing, that they're at 25th of May.
I think,
Can I just say that I don't think Faye had any real request from them, so it might be what they're saying now.
That they would like at some stage to
At some
come to the
stage,
board, and we
yeah.
put them in the first.
And they said they did try, but timing wasn't right.
And so let's just summarize. Tyler will contact the person he's working with. Marie, you want to contact your person? Do you want?
Yeah, I just,
Debbie?
yeah, I've spoken with James as well, and, you know, about these two drop-in sessions, etc. But I just really want to highlight that the summary of what's happened here today is there's two facets to this, which I do thank all the residents for coming, and it's been absolutely imperative, is the council side of things and also the Kāinga Ora side of things. And I think it's great that we want to meet with Kāinga Ora, but I think it's also imperative that we deal with the council side of things as well, because it sounds to me like there are some serious roading issues and that development that I think we need to be dealing with sooner rather than later.
It becomes our problem later.
So would you like to have a meeting with council's planning staff?
Absolutely.
And we'll convene a meeting in the next week with the planning staff.
Sure.
Yes, with the board members who can attend.
Can I suggest we just ask them for a sponsor writing as soon as possible rather than waiting for a meeting? Because we need something in black and white to send to residents anyway.
Well, I think
So us having a meeting, like the focus needs to be getting the residents what they're after, which is a response to their questions in writing.
Probably can't, but we can clarify. We can clarify the process. Look, I think it's probably been done legally. From a council.
But yeah, we
staff
need to get the residents something in black and white.
Yeah.
Like we're now talking about a third meeting, a fourth meeting, a fifth meeting. I think
well, it depends.
we're going to get the residents the response from the mayor's office today. They're going to come back to us.
Can
I sent it to you this morning, and then the residents going to come back with their questions around the consent. And then we need to just get a response to those queries as soon as possible, rather than I think planning a meeting that the residents might not bad anyway.
I think it's probably about a briefing with Kāinga Ora.
Yes.
That at some point we have the council staff as well. So either have the council staff first and Kāinga Ora second, or the other way around.
Okay.
Is that a more viable option?
Well, up to the board. I mean, I'm Tyler.
Apologies. Can I just kindly request that clean this up a little bit? We take this offline to look about the T's and C's, but what we do know is we have some action points. Those action points are, we go to Kāinga Ora. I pass on the details to you. You work out the nitty gritty. We stay in contact with the Halls residents. Bob's your uncle. Good. We're cool with that?
Can we also ask?
And you're all open to having a meeting if in fact that's required.
Can we have council staff at the next briefing? With
No,
Kāinga
we
Ora.
can't guarantee that because.
No, I'm just, I know you can't guarantee.
No, but we can ask. You can ask.
What kind of council staff?
Be the
The ones that are dealing with the
head of planning.
the roading, traffic engineers.
No, it'll probably be a planner.
there's pessimism.
They always get the roading engineer to feed into the consent. Look, it's probably been done according to our plan. It might be our plan's the problem. But yeah.
Could I suggest it's more likely that what we need is the resource consent approving staff to be able to explain how it gets resource consent without notification.
It's resource consent planning. It's probably a senior resource consent planning staff member.
The resource consent planning manager.
Planning manager, yes.
Or resource consent manager.
Yes.
What you want.
Thank you.
Cool.
Tyler.
Action points, great, fantastic, good. Next thing is the pessimism in getting the planners here within a week. It took me 2 weeks to get a 15-minute window with them. They're up to their neck in work at the moment around plan.
Probably behind it a bit after tomorrow.
Yeah, just be aware of that.
In terms of the intensity.
But that's for public knowledge that staff and planners are really.
I have Zoom if that's a better option.
Can I just summarise? You're going to have Tyler speaking to his contact, Marie to hers and Halswell and Debbie. Then we're going to look at having a meeting with the planning staff, which might be the same time as the briefing on Kainga Ora.
We could perhaps zoom
The
them in
residents out.
if they're not, if time's an issue, perhaps zoom them in.
What the residents have asked for is answers to their questions. So the residents have been emailed 11:20 this morning with a response to the petition to the Copper Ridge residents Gmail account. Can I suggest that the residents respond to that email just over the next couple of days with everything you'd like to know around the consents? We will forward that on, get a response as soon as possible. It's like there's not much point us planning a meeting if we need to get them answers.
No,
So we need to get them answers. That's what they're after.
Yes.
And we can, as soon as we've got the questions, we'll forward it on and ask for a response as soon as possible.
But I
And it
think
could be that we have a meeting after that as well, but you want answers.
it might be helpful. So it might be helpful to have a meeting with planning staff because some people are just coming, some people are new at this. And then there's the meeting with Kainga Ora on the 27th or 25th. And then we'll have a look at some point as to whether we have a small group meeting, but that depends on the board. You need to say to me that we'll write and ask them for a group meeting with us, them and residents. Because the residents so far aren't particularly involved other than the drop-in session. I think.
And they've set a lot of this in motion.
Sorry?
And they've set a lot of this in motion as well.
Yes.
So I think their involvement has been very good.
Yes, but they need a further stage, I think.
They need some answers.
Can we add something?
Yes.
Is there any chance Kainga's build could get on hold on a week or two while this discussion happens?
It's a question for Kainga Ora.
Yeah.
It's a good question to ask.
But we don't have the
Out
power
of good
to.
faith,
But
moral obligation of the north.
Yes.
Could stop the
Well, perhaps if we discuss this offline, but we've got some clarity, I guess. You want to say just anything more? Just
No, thank you.
thank you for coming in. It's a very sizable group. Thank you for taking the time and yes, the guys are in the corner. Silent. Thank you. And you are welcome to stay to see the next stages of the meeting. So you might be.
All interesting.
You don't have to-
No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much. Thank you. I know. Just stop the phone.
It's huge.
Yeah. No worry.
I don't think they keep coming around.
Out of close streets.
It's huge.
That's tell them right now.
What's that?
Tell them right now, we're close.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for
Okay. It sometimes
We're at deputation.
yes. So that's. Thank you.
Staff and
Thank you. I'll just continue.
Love it. Great. Yeah.
The deputations, we haven't any, the presentation of petitions, we haven't any because that isn't defined as in fact a petition. We're going on to staff reports, proposed road names. So does someone want to move that?
Yes.
Item 7, move Andres, seconded Gamal. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. The community board plan,
Happy to move.
moved Andres, seconded Sarah.
Sweet.
So that's on the table. Mark has an amendment to make.
You got one.
So if you wish to put that up with a second Mark.
Who was the move? Second or Gamal and
The community board. Yep.
no.
Andre and Sarah.
Andrews.
Okay, thank you. So Mark, so we've got it on the table.
Oh, that's right.
The plan as
You got
as
it.
we've approved it so far.
Yep.
And you've got an amendment, which is seconded by Gamal or Sarah?
Sarah.
Sarah, okay.
And on the amendment,
Yes.
no, I seconded the plan.
Oh, the plan, okay.
Yeah,
Have in fact, we
I haven't had a discussion for it.
seconded for Mark's amendment. You better Put it up, Mark, because it's
What's your
probably
amendment?
fairly,
List.
it's fairly much, I think, understood
Small wording.
that this happens, but anyway.
It's the original. email.
So Mark's moving an amendment, hey, Mark?
Yes. So the amendment I'd like to move, you've got it in wording there, I believe, that Marie has kindly drafted.
No. We haven't.
Yeah,
So it's in effect the vision statement.
Two
Yeah.
options were sent.
Good.
Yeah.
So which one?
I was happy with either, so.
I haven't seen those.
We haven't.
I'm dying to see this.
No, they haven't.
Huh?
I'm dying
No,
to-
you haven't seen it.
We haven't
Absolutely.
done this
Did they see it?
I'm dying to see the
Okay.
amendment.
Yeah.
See it or second it?
See it.
Oh,
See it.
sorry, I couldn't quite.
I've got to see it before seconding it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the two options. I've seen Mark's email, but I haven't seen what these.
If you like,
Is it,
are we having problems with this?
can we just have a brief pause and we can sort this through?
We can move on to number 9, if you like.
Yeah.
Yes, good.
Well, no, we've got the motion on the table, so we can't. But.
Oh, that's right, we can't either.
We'll
Sorry.
just find the, right, I will take us a second.
So,
You want to speak?
okay, I'll just put the amendments around all of you.
Do you want to?
Just talk to the gist of it,
Yep.
Mark. while
So
we-
the gist of it is basically, it's been identified by submitters on the board plan that a number of the priorities should actually be not ward specific and could be applicable to a number of wards. So basically, we're introducing an extra clause in the vision statements that where it's appropriate, the priorities can be across the entire board area rather than just a specific ward. So we're just adding a statement here to allow us as a board to use that as a way of capturing.
Where appropriate.
Yeah, where it's appropriate. Yeah.
Might need to read out the resolution for the public.
Yeah.
So I guess, for instance, it would mean that if it's a youth activity, we've got to focus on Riccarton, but it doesn't mean to say
Can't do it.
pick it up in Hornby or in Halswell.
And the same for a dog park. If the dog park doesn't exclusively have to be Halswell, it could, if there's a logical reason for us to have it in Riccarton or Hornby or all 3 wards, then we can pick it up and actually run with it.
Sorry, we're just trying to get the words big enough so you can actually read them.
We've got them here in front of us.
Zoom in.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah, it's on email.
Are we able to move on? Upgrade.
So if you want it read, it's adding in the little red portion you can see sort of in red pink there, is while the priorities are identified for a specific ward, the actions may be able to be implemented across the wider community board area as opposite.
Is that changing the one above where it says?
There were 2 options there.
Just
Oh, so
Adding that
what the-
paragraph.
I could read the words if it's helpful.
yes.
So, oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, I find it worse.
You just didn't read the words though. You just read it out. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So do you want to, are we doing that?
Well, I just wonder why.
So,
I mean,
current-
it's lovely that they're there, but is that not what the status quo is anyway?
It is, yeah. It doesn't.
It is.
We can make decisions anywhere we want anyway.
So we're just making it clearer that that is the status quo.
So it'll be in the vision statement. Currently it says, in addition to our to our priority projects identified in this plan, the board will continue to advocate strongly through submission to the council's annual plan and long-term plan for increased budgets for road, footpath and park maintenance. And Mark is proposing we add to that, while the priorities are identified for a specific ward, board will take opportunities as they arise to address them across the wider board area.
That was the first
So
one.
just saying that while we've specified 3 things for each ward, it could be broader if we have the opportunity. Marie.
When Mark sent through this suggested amendment, I looked at where it might fit properly. I don't think the vision statement is where it would sit, but under that paragraph, probably under our priorities, before we start on the detailed priorities, right at the top.
That was where I
There.
was sitting.
Well, I'm relaxed.
So the board priorities have already been consulted on.
Yeah. But at
The
the
priorities
top,
page, that means.
at the top, It's just like an introductory about the priorities.
I smiled at you because it's the planner speaking.
Yeah, that's where we would put it.
Yes.
That's fine. We can put it there if you want.
Tyler,
I
yes,
don't want to
yes.
speak.
I mean, no problem.
Where would we put it? Because it has, the Halswell page has a Hornby page and it has a Riccarton page.
It's between the
Yeah.
start of the Halswell, it's just under that heading, our priorities, not in any particular order. So that statement will go right under there.
On the top.
Right at the top, right at the beginning, page 30. Oh, no, page 9 of the board report.
Oh, okay.
Just under that heading, our
Our priorities.
priorities, and then that statement.
Yes.
That
That,
is
that would be the
where-
right idea, like to see.
Yeah.
Has someone seconded it?
Well, I was going to suggest, if, hang on a minute, if Andre has moved it and Sarah has seconded it, if they're happy to take on that amendment, we don't need to do it as an amendment, we'll just put the original that they've moved, the board plan with this proposal.
Personally, I don't support the amendment.
You don't, okay, that's fine, thank you. So,
Well,
yeah, we do need to second it, come out.
Okay. So we've got the amendment. So do you want to debate it briefly?
Is it the first or second amendment?
It's the first one up there that we've, put my hand over it. I think that's the first one, wasn't it, Mark?
I actually prefer the second one, to be honest.
Okay, so that was slightly different. So that
Yep.
reads, while the priorities are identified for specific goals, the actions may be able to be, implemented across the wider community board area as opportunity arises.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's move Mark, seconded Gamal.
Gamal.
And that's, so to go in,
Page
under
30.
board priorities, page
Yes.
30.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marie, for the placement.
Right, yes.
Okay, so
We vote
any
first on
debate?
the-
Well, Mark, if you want to speak to it, go ahead.
So the reason that I brought this in here is because there was feedback through the submission process from a number of submitters that a number of the priorities could be applied to a number of wards. So instead of, for instance, the Halswell Dog Park being specifically just a Halswell Dog Park, it was mentioned that, well, Hornby needs one too. And there could also be others in Riccarton who decide, look, I wouldn't mind a dog park in Riccarton. So if we put this clause in here, we're leaving ourselves enough room in the board plan to be able to apply it with, around the 3 wards anywhere we see it as being an opportunity arising. So rather than paint ourselves into a corner, I'd like to see ourselves leave ourselves open enough that we can pick up a board priority from another board and say, let's apply that here as well, because we can see the opportunity. That's really what that's about. So
Okay, thank you, Mark. Now, who wants to speak? You want to speak against it, Andre, or are you just happy to?
Yeah, the priorities are an opportunity for each ward to put forward what that ward's priorities are that they see fit. That never stops things applying to other areas. If, for example, last time community safety was a priority for the Halswell ward, we were still able to address community safety issues in Hornby and Riccarton. It doesn't stop those things, but it's an opportunity to say they are the priorities for this area. It's one of our 3 priorities. A fenced dog park in Halswell was a priority for Halswell people. It wasn't seen as a priority. It wasn't seen as a top 3 priority for Hornby. It could still be that a dog park ends up landing somewhere in the Hornby ward that's right by the Halswell area. Who knows? But it is a priority for Halswell. Hornby haven't identified it as one of theirs. They have identified their priorities. And that, to me, is what the three is about. None of it's set in stone anyway. It's not an actual plan. It's not an actual policy. When we did our priorities 3 years ago, fenced dog park was one for Halswell, and it was actually already in the long-term plan. That council cut the funding altogether for a dog park. So these board priorities only actually mean so much in the grand scheme of things. But these have been put forward as priorities for Halswell. So I'm not prepared to really shift away from that and what people had their say on and say it's a priority for Halswell, but it's also a potential anywhere in the ward area when it's what Halswell people have spoken very strongly that they are after. I know Hornby wants it in their area. I understand that everyone would like a dog park, but Halswell have taken the time to put it forward as one of their priorities, and not keen to see it poached, quite frankly.
Okay, thank you.
That's like hearing.
Yeah.
So anyone else wish to speak on it? Tyler?
I implore others to debate too, please, because I'd like to be convinced one way or the other. At the moment, I'm in the middle. Reason being is I, along with Helen and Gamal, purposefully put 3 quite broad area priorities in our ward for a good reason, and this is the very reason why. So that we can actually do work that help initiatives in our communities that are a wide range of different issues. And those issues for us are obviously prioritising youth, making livable neighbourhoods such as intensification involved in this, and also ensuring that we have really good infrastructure. So for me, on Riccarton's behalf, I'm indifferent because we are lucky because we do have a broad priority list, but I can't speak for Halswell-Hornby because you have projects and priorities which you have put purposefully to ensure that you have some measurables and KPIs around that. So therefore, I would actually abstain from this most likely, as I feel that I'm indifferent one way or the other.
Sure. Anyone, Debbie, and then Marie?
Yeah, like my question before was, is this not as per status quo anyway? I feel like this is the roots of how we operate anyway, and we have done for the last 10 years whilst I've been on the board. I think from what I understand by putting this in is it's just making it clear that this is our status quo. We're not specifically, the amendment isn't specifically talking about the dog park. It's talking about if we can find something available and if it meets what we're after, then we will collaborate around the board table and either agree or disagree. So I'm going to be supporting it on the mere fact that it's status quo in words.
Thank you. Marie?
The first time I saw Mark's email about this suggestion, my initial reaction was no, because we had consulted on these priorities for these 3 wards, the top priorities, the 3 priorities for these 3 wards, and now opening it up across the board was not something that we consulted on. But recently, just a while ago, Mark mentioned that it was, and reminded me that it was submitted on. So perhaps, yes, there can be some adjustments to that. And so I'm in the middle right now, because also maybe if there is, as you said, where appropriate, it will come back to the board anyway, and it will be a board decision. So, yeah.
Okay, now I've got ahead, Andre
Can I
and
ask-
Mark have spoken.
Can I ask
So
a question for
Can I get a chance to
clarification?
pose?
you can ask a question.
Question clarification.
It's probably you're making a statement probably.
No, it's a question. So
Sorry, I'm
like,
used to the.
2 of the Hornby priorities, one is specific to a Hornby master plan.
Mhm.
Another is for ownership of the Hornby Community Care Trust.
Mhm.
So some of these measures couldn't possibly be applied to other wards.
Correct.
So,
That's what.
Only where appropriate.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess it's a proposal put forward by a Hornby member, but none of the Hornby priorities could possibly go to other wards anyway. But some of the other
Just gonna
priorities in other wards could go to
You have to make
Hornby.
a question
So-
of that.
But I'm clarifying.
Sorry,
Yeah, but you said I'm clarifying, right? Like how could this apply for priorities that are absolutely ward specific, couldn't apply to other
Okay.
areas anyway?
Okay.
Like how is that
You're
possible?
probably making a statement.
I'm asking, does that actually make sense in the wording?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, Sarah,
Councillors.
you wanted to speak.
From my understanding, when we came together, the purpose was to create plans, priorities for our ward. we didn't come together and ask for priorities that go across the whole ward. Of course, as Tyler mentioned, the Riccarton priorities can be attributed to the whole ward. And my understanding is that just because they are in there specific to Riccarton doesn't mean to say that we wouldn't, have them in other areas anyway. I just am a little bit unsure if we stipulate that in there, that it might lose focus from the particular points that are only attributable to the specific areas. Dog park for Halswell residents that could be in the Hornby area, Hornby master plan, the specifics. And I think it's important to keep focused on the purpose for the plan, which is delivering these outcomes for our community. And common sense would say that we would be using the other priorities that are attributable to all of our community, would be doing that anyway. That's my
Good, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to it? Mark, closing, this is the formal way of doing it. Closing debate.
Yeah.
Mark has the right of reply. Anyone who moves a resolution can speak to it and then has the right of reply.
Okay, so thank you for your contribution, folks. And I hear everything you're saying. One thing I would say pick up on was the new board. Yes, we've got new board, so therefore the previous way of the board operating is left in the back corner. So there's no harm in actually stating what is the status quo. So thank you for highlighting status quo. The Hornby particular focus on our piece of the board plan, we've got a lot of problems in Hornby. We welcome the Halswell people to come into our ward, shop, recreate, and do whatever they need to do in our Hornby area. So we have to be specific, try and fix our specific infrastructural problems that we've got in our area, hence the Hornby master plan. You're welcome to pick up on the greening of the Hornby ward. You can by all means green up the Halswell ward. It's not a bad idea to green up Riccarton or any of the wards. So we're quite happy to share, some of our priorities as well. So the thing I've picked up since I've been on council too is that there are different ways that different community boards work. Our board, bless our hearts, we go for 3 by 3 by 3, where each ward gets 3. Other boards simply have 9 across the whole, which I think is a really refreshing way of working. And that's kind of where this amendment is trying to move us towards. That whilst a dog park in Halswell is your priority, that's great. But there's no reason why if the community in Hornby, which they've told us through submissions they wouldn't mind one, and if Riccarton then decided that they'd like one as well, we could pick up that priority and help make it a reality in any part of our community board area. At the end of the day, each one of us here on this board have sworn the same oath as we took office, that we're here to represent the whole of the 3 wards, not just our little patch. We're here to represent all of Halswell, Hornby and Riccarton. So could I encourage you as members, as this amendment comes to the vote, to please think with your overall community board focus that you're here to represent all 3 wards and leave ourselves as much room as we can to be able to meet the needs in each of the 3 communities. So,
okay, thank you very much. So I'll put the amendment. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against?
No.
No. A show of hands, all those in favour?
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's passed. Okay, thank you. So the amendment's passed. So I'll move the whole motion with that amendment. All those in favour?
Debate.
Sorry?
Debate.
Yes, you can actually.
Can we have division? Can we have division on that?
Well, I'm moving the resolution with that amendment included.
Yeah,
Yes. I hope I'm right.
Don't need a
Right.
division. A show of hands.
Oh,
Can I just ask you two, sorry to interrupt,
Yep.
if you want your vote against recorded?
Yes.
Sarah? Sure. Yep.
okay.
it's called democracy.
Now, who's debating? You're debating the resolution.
Yes.
You, thank you.
Yep. So we've gone and consulted on the plan. What we've got now differs a bit, and I'm all for sharing as well. But the Hornby Board has offered up 2 priorities that can't physically be shared. So I feel like we've just complicated the situation a bit. You can't share a Hornby Community Care Trust between wards. you can't share a Hornby master plan between wards. So we're talking about things that can't physically be shared at all, but all of the Halswell-Riccarton priorities, they can be shared. So that's where I've landed. So I'll be voting against it altogether.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wants to speak?
I thought we'd just done that.
No,
Sorry.
it's the.
Oh, the
full
resolution.
Resolution now with the amendment. So Debbie and then Mark Peters.
I just want to reiterate about the status quo, and I'll say why. When I was first elected in 2013, we were one board, the Riccarton-Wigram Community Board. We looked at prioritising issues throughout the entire board. That has not changed. What has changed is the voting structure of the 3 wards and how we, when the community wish to come to us about a particular issue, they'll contact us. But we have concerns. The southwest pole was meant for southwest. It was, and where it is now being placed was out of the circumference of the area at the time. And yet us as a board all resolved it because it was a shared situation. And so I'm just looking at the board as a whole, which has never changed. That has never changed. I think it is important to still look at the priorities within our ward, but it only says where applicable. So it's not taking away anything from our individual ward. It's just saying where applicable.
Thank you. Mark, and then we'll move the resolution.
Yeah, well, I'll certainly vote in favour of this with that amendment in there. I think we've, as a whole board, come up with quite a robust set of priorities. And congratulations to Halswell for getting their priorities, and congratulations to Riccarton for getting your priorities. But there's in my Hornby area, which you all represent, yes, we've got some specific targets, and that's because we've got a real specific situation there. Hornby, whether you like it or not, tends to be the host, really, of pretty much Halswell particularly, not so much Riccarton. Riccarton tends to be the host of all 3 of us. The city. Yeah, the city. So we like to work together as a community as a whole. And I think we've done a great job in landing these. And I think for our communities, we can pick up on each other's collective thought processes and use some of what Halswell's done and some of what Riccarton's done, because the livable communities very much applies to Hornby. It very much applies to Halswell even, because there's people in Halswell, believe it or not, Andre, who are actually screaming against intensification. They're just not being heard. So I'm happy that we share our priorities around the 3 boards, because that's how we're supposed to work as a board. And I would hope that there's an entire board we'd take off our area-specific thought processes and say, let's go for the whole and do the good for everybody.
Thank you. Sarah?
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yes, you can. You.
I'm just curious.
Exactly, no, but
Thank you.
but we'll let you have it.
I'm just curious to know how this will affect our decision making.
Right.
So why?
That's the issue.
Can you tell me?
We kind of debated that the last amendment was that debate.
Yeah. Okay.
So now we've
sorry.
agreed as a majority that we've got this amendment in there.
Right.
So we're just saying now, are we going to move the whole resolution?
Right. Okay.
Or are we not?
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. If you're against it, still vote against it. Okay.
Okay.
You're voting whether to adopt the board plan.
Yes.
Right.
The amendment's
With
done.
that amendment.
Okay. That's with that.
With
With that amendment.
It's basically this, right?
So he,
Working as a whole.
I've been sitting here bewildered and confused, really. Probably still am. But I thought that if Halswell gets a dog park, that doesn't automatically assume that everybody else gets a dog park. I just see that the resolution, all it does is say what was going to happen anyway. To me, it's been a lot of discussion about no forward movement.
we'll
That's just me. You know,
we
I'm
hope to have that.
slow at these meetings, but
We are planning to have a vote on it, Tyler. Sorry, I'll move along. So,
That's right.
yeah.
Good everyone. This is an interesting one. The reason being is we've made 3 ward priorities for each of our wards, of which we wouldn't necessarily have room to take from each other's wards anyway, because we need to focus on our priorities. So if we weren't finishing or completing those particular targets that we set, for example, the Halswell Dog Park, but for example, if Andre wanted to take an initiative from, say, Riccarton, for example, about a livable neighbourhood, without prioritising the Halswell Dog Park, therefore, technically, Halls won't be doing their job. So you need to go through those 1, 2, 3 priorities before you even think about looking at any of those, in my opinion. That also means that if we were to look at things like that, we do notice that there are things that are wide-ranging, issues that are wide-ranging. For example, spaces for youth to come and hang out and lowering and trying to lower youth crime rates. That goes across all 3 of our wards. We know that's really particular to our wards. That's something that we can all take from. And we all know that happens. But we technically already know that happens. Now, Mark's amendment really is ineffective, but based on principle, I voted, I abstained from that vote. But looking at the whole 9 priorities, it's not a bad point putting across a collective view on 9 priorities in the next term. It's not a bad idea. But that means we are going to have to start thinking about particular projects that may have to set aside in lieu of ensuring that all 3 of our wards are looked after. So that takes a lot of consideration. That may mean that we won't vote or have consensus on a Halswell Dog Park because, for example, 2 other wards might think that they need a skate park, for example. So these are pros and cons in both of these 2 models, if you will. And I'm quite happy either way, because what I see is all of us as elected members caring for our communities. At the same time, we're wanting the best for our communities, of which we did listen to those who put in their submissions, of which I really appreciated. There was some great feedback in those, of which made a really, really good resource. And I actually agree with this. And I'm going to vote in favour of this and this board plan. It was great. It was fantastic. So in closing, I thank the community for putting it in, and it's gonna look really good. Kia ora.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tyler. So I'll move the full resolution. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against?
No.
No. Thank you. You want your vote recorded?
Yep.
Thank you. Fine.
And did you vote against it?
Are you voting against or for? For. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Number 9, the Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Discretionary Response Fund. Marie is standing back from the Hornby Community Patrols, but the Otaha Eritrean Association Incorporated. I'll actually move that resolution. Do you want to speak to things, Marie?
No, I'll just let them stand.
Let them stand.
Sure.
Tyler? I'm moving them separately.
Oh, I was just going to second both.
Well, speak on both, but
I was going to second both, sorry.
we'll
Second.
move them separately. Yes. Okay, so anyone want to speak on the first one?
You could do 2 together if you wanted to.
No, I can't. No,
Oh, 'cause Marie's
And one
Because of
separately and
Marie.
the other 2 together? No, there's 3, isn't
it's
there?
2.
Oh, sorry, forget that.
Yes, no, there's
Sorry,
only
I
2.
thought there was 3.
No. Okay, so I'll move the first one, the Independence Day celebration. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. And the next
Do you have
one,
a second to help?
Yeah.
yes.
Tyler.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
Tyler seconding
And
the
the
vote.
Hornby
Can I move the second one?
Community Patrols, moved to Mark,
Second then.
seconded Hen. Marie standing back, and we're granting them $3,505. So all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. That's great. Now, moving on to the Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board Area Report. Matt Clinton, do you
Yep.
want to stay where you are?
Yeah, no,
You think it,
happy to pay
Thank
this
you.
read. It's been in your hands for a while now. If you've got any questions at all, feel free
Thank
to
you.
ask us, but other than that, in the interest of time.
Just an interesting question around the Villa Maria College report back. Has that actually been picked up by the new board that's responsible for that area? You know?
Do we know?
yes, it's got Pear Street is still our area. It's the edge of Pear Street.
Mhm.
And I've noticed they didn't mention that particularly because when I was involved with it fully at the beginning, they were concerned about, this is my age, the years Form 1 and 2, whatever those years are, crossing Pear Street. So I think we're slightly
Still involved with it, are we?
involved with it still, but it hasn't come through as a strong issue.
Is that not, is that because we commenced the work?
We started it and the board
We finished it.
changed.
Yes,
Yeah, so, and also Pear Street is still Riccarton.
absolutely.
Yes, so we're still involved with it, but on the fringes, basically.
And Brodie Street?
Brodie Street is now Waimari. So all of that was lost, in fact, Riccarton's there.
Okay.
And again, it's mainly Brodie Street, isn't it? Which is now Waimari. I mean, I think it sounds good, actually. But it's, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about that, actually?
Mhm.
The speed limit along Brodie Street is going to be reduced to 30 kilometres per hour as parking of improving safety around schools in the city.
Mm.
Every time I go down there, you're lucky if you can
I know.
get to 20 kilometres anyway.
Yeah.
I know.
So I would have to wonder, are we wasting money by actually implementing that when you can't get beyond 20 kilometres down there anyway?
What it does is it
I
calls the
agree.
police. a lot.
No, I understand the motivation.
Oh, yeah,
Why, but people could also have the reverse thought and think, well, I can speed up to 30. I think the natural rules are to drive to the conditions. And that's something that I always highlight in regards to speed, because is this something that we need to be?
well, I think it's been worked out with students.
It's already been
staff and
spent.
student
It's already been
reps,
spent.
traffic engineers. So, I mean,
And it's in.
and whether people keep to it's the issue too. So say on a less busy day, I think I agree with you, it's normally very choker there and hard to get through, but sometimes it's quite easy.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
and I've got a
very well.
supermarket down the road now, so.
Yep.
Which is
Got
now
us
moved.
bold.
It's going to be in place for all schools,
Yes.
30 Ks.
Thank you. Well, we have to move this, do we?
Just to receive it.
Just receive it.
Yes, just
So what's
receive it.
what's the result of the traffic congestion in Sparks and Henderson? What are they going to do?
Hanrahan, that was your one, wasn't it? Henson's and
They're not doing anything?
They can't get cars off the road, unfortunately.
No, this is not Henson's.
No,
Henderson's 4.4.
0.3.
4.4.
On screen.
And Sparks and Henderson's too.
Oh, yeah, I think that's going to be relieved once the new subdivision behind. I think they're going to relieve some access of Sparks through Causewell Commons. Once that developed.
I did hope to have the traffic engineer here today. He was going to speak to some of these traffic matters, but he's away sick today, unfortunately. But he will go through them before at the next session of his regular session.
Thank you, Faye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And noting we did our board submission to the draft annual plan, we are reasonably brief on it. So we've had some positive feedback on that. We answered the questions, basically. Yeah.
Wow.
So I think the other board felt freer to move than we were. So we just answered the questions posed. And I found the draft annual plan document very easy this year. It seemed very clear. So I'll move that the report is received. Those in favour say aye.
Sarah, second.
Second, Sarah. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Well, so we're on to the Community Board Service and Youth Awards, item 11. Now, we've sent around emails. If there's any question about any of the possible recipients, we'll go into public excluded. Otherwise, we can just move the whole lot in sort of open forum.
Just a
Marie,
question.
and then
on-
Mark.
Just a question on the staff recommendation number 2. This delegates authority to the board chairperson and deputy chairperson to accept any late applications received from other community boards. Did you mean applications or nominations? What are we receiving here? Late what?
So it was if any late nominations came through after the closing date.
So
we
late
haven't received any.
nominations.
We haven't got.
Nominations, yeah.
Late nominations, not applications.
Yeah.
It's just the terminology that I was questioning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I found that the language has picked up a lot with Marie, so just your background.
Here.
Very precise.
Now, Andre?
You want to make the change, Marie? So we can,
Uh,
it hasn't been moved. We
yeah.
can change it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Were there any declined?
No, they've all-
Does this need to be in PX?
Not if we
No,
don't.
I'm not discussing the names.
Not if we all have-
Cool, thank
If
you.
anyone's got any concerns about any of those potential
Discuss
recipients,
them, we'll go out.
we'll have to move, in fact,
I'll
PX.
move it.
Okay, Mark,
Second.
second, you want to speak to anything?
Once we go PX, we probably can, yes.
Well, we don't
We don't
need to go to PX.
PX.
Okay.
It's
Unless
just
you want to
normal.
talk.
I had actually had a discussion offline about some of the nominees. I did have my concerns put to rest.
Well, I want to know now.
On PX.
Can't.
Do we want to go, and that's what I'm saying, if we
Well,
want
it's
to,
been moved and seconded. Do we really need to go into PX?
well,
No.
You tell me, Mark.
I can tell you off. I
Nominating.
want to get out of here, did we not?
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Right,
They're
moving
great
on.
than that.
so if you're reasonably satisfied,
actually.
Mark, we'll stay in the open agenda item. It's moved and seconded. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Interesting, honestly.
Now, just before, we're moving on to elected members exchange. Just before we start on that, the Beautifying Garden Awards are next Wednesday, the 17th. 4:30 for catering, 5 o'clock for presentation. Is there anyone who can't make it?
Sorry, what date did you say?
Wednesday, the 17th, if I've got that right?
So what's Wednesday, 17th, sorry?
Community
Hornby Club.
Garden Awards.
Wednesday.
The Hornby working, what that used to be the Hornby.
I think I won't be able to make it.
Next week, next time.
Now,
No, for you,
it was advised quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I think people
Right, just-
possibly have misplaced the, yeah.
I will definitely be an apology for that because my mother-in-law is moving up from Dunedin and I need to go to Dunedin that night. After the council meeting to move her up. So
Okay.
I'll be an apology.
Thank you, Mark.
No, she's.
Sort of
I'm sorry, but
apology accepted. Thank you. So, and Gamal, it's fine. So we've got 2 apologies. Other than that,
I should be able to make it this point.
you can make it?
I should be able to make that.
Good, good. Good, thank you very much.
The birth my firstborn for it.
The other issue I wanted to talk about
Birth
is
of my firstborn for it.
the elected first members exchange. I wasn't so clear last time. Can if you,
Attend via Zoom?
No.
Is that?
No.
No,
the presentation,
Yeah.
are they able to attend those rooms?
Oh, we weren't setting up a Zoom meeting for the Garden Awards, were we, Noella?
Or can we do it technically or not? No.
Hornby Club.
No. Okay, I'll be sorry. I thought you were at the Hornby Club. Good. Thank you. Now, for the collective members exchange, if we could just give information, and if you're wanting any action, please specify. I'm really keen to get some action points so that we don't lose track of them. But please say if it's action that you want, rather than just information. Andre, and then Sebi, and then Tyler.
Okay, big month. The Hemel Road, Halswell Junction Road roundabout. The work on that has started this week.
Great.
Hopefully done by tomorrow.
Wow.
And there was that.
It looks done, Molly.
And indeed there was another accident last week. So the fence is currently in a state of disrepair, but the old line markings won't get removed till next week. They've been blacked over in the meantime. They'll get removed completely by next week. So we're going to see how it goes. I do have an action point though. There's a question here of why on earth would their insurer renew their insurance policy at this point in time with 7 accidents in 5 years and 3 in the last 6 months? So we've changed the roundabout, but there's no guarantee that cars won't keep going through the fence.
No.
So if the residents can't renew the insurance policy, we've got a real problem here. So we may still,
They say they can't.
if they can't.
It's all hypothetical then.
This is a conversation I've had, and it's a concern. And not only, and it's obviously it's been costing them a lot more as well. So we still need to have a discussion on whether a barrier is appropriate.
I think we need to have a concrete wall.
Do you want to bring that back to the people find if they can't get Longhurst? Because if they can, we certainly have not a problem, but if they can't.
I think they'll need to take a case to the council.
Yeah, I'd like to note it as a concern for now. Note it's a concern, not an action, but it is a concern. Because obviously this costs them a huge amount every time, it costs them every time. The car goes through the
They can
fence.
sue the car.
They should do.
Yeah, absolutely. But the higher insurance costs, insurance excesses, the list goes on. So I think last time I spoke, I was talking about the notice motion I was putting forward to council around elected members being notified of road closures in their area. That notice motion has been declined. I've been advised that the information that's currently on the website is sufficient. I disagree. Otherwise, I wouldn't always be emailing the office of the chief executive asking for information about road closures because it's not on the website. If it's on the website, I wouldn't be sending those emails. I've been told we're sent sufficient start work notices. Well, the reality is we're often not. I've got 5 road closures in the last year that I've never received a start work notice for. If I had been receiving start work notices, I wouldn't be asking for them. So I haven't given up on that one.
No, I think we probably have the backing of the board on that. So
Well,
certainly
I've been
here's
raising
the
it at this
motion
board for over a year now. So I appreciate I got the backing of this board.
yes.
And I hope I get backing elsewhere at council as well, because it's been quite frustrating. Although I have noticed 2 start work notices come through in the last week. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come.
See, right?
But I would like a formal process confirming that elected members will get notified of any road closures in their street so we can notify the public. At no cost to the ratepayer, I will add. How good is that? Hosted a crime and community safety meeting on Tuesday, had around 65 there, not including the panel. A striking fact for me was only around 10-15% of the people in the room were aware of who their local community patrol is and what they do. So the biggest takeaway from me on that one is we should be doing whatever we can to promote our local community patrols. More on that in future. The Milnes, William, Britton Ave, Kearns Drive intersection. We got a report, a memo from staff just saying that some changes were being made to that. It'd just be good to get an update on if there's any other changes to that intersection coming. A couple have already been made, like the stone brick wall had been removed.
Yes, I think that's something that Andrew could have spoken to probably. So we'll get, I'll raise it to him that he needs to speak at the next one.
Or if we could just get an update emailed to us, would be the ideal. But just the intersection, just a bit further down on Whitburn and Collier, same sort of thing. A giveaway sign has gone in, but people aren't seeing the giveaway sign. So it's causing some issues, as you could imagine.
That's an action point, is it?
Yeah, this is an action point. The Whitburn Collier intersection, same sort of thing, new giveaway sign. It's causing some confusion because people aren't seeing it. And that Collier Drive is going to be extremely busy when it opens up to Dunbar's Road, the new countdown, etc.
So what is your request around
for him?
The request is
engineer to investigate.
Yeah, the visibility of the giveaway at that intersection. Is there something that can be done like what's being done at Milnes, William, Britton Ave? And lastly, the Halswell Challenge Station, they came to speak to our board before Christmas, might have been October. November, something along those lines.
About drainage.
Yeah, they never got a response from council, and we're here 8 or 9 months later. And this is something that's cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars, as they told us. And council hasn't even responded to them and their concerns.
Pretty rank.
So do you want to
Follow up.
chase that up too then? That's another.
Yes, please.
So, well, that's,
Yeah.
was that an action? Will we
It is
refer to
really.
an action?
Yeah, they
Chase up.
came to speak to
And we
our
did an
board
action,
and
we
we,
did a request.
oh, absolutely. We
Yeah.
assured them they'd be getting
So I'll follow that
information
up
and we're here
Would you?
8 or
Yeah.
9 months later,
Yep.
they haven't got anything.
Yep.
So yeah, I followed them up a week ago, said, oh, how's it all been going? Said, we heard nothing from council.
Where
was
that? David?
Oh, challenge on the
Oh,
road.
that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yes, please. But no, that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, anyone else? BB and then Mark?
Just
Oh, yeah.
wondering how we are going with Arthur Street yellow lines. I requested that about June last year.
It was in the area report.
Yeah, that was on the
Was it?
report,
Yes.
and I think they said it's not a problem. Extension of no stopping lines, corner of Hampson's Lane
No.
and Arthur Street.
Yeah, I don't think it's it's not.
It's
Hang on, I'll bring it up.
I spoke to Andrew the other day, so it was definitely a problem.
Sorry.
Is it there?
It is there. I'm reading it.
Yeah, it appears that, that's what the engineers advised.
Well, that's good then, if it's there. I must have missed it.
So can we come back to that? Have you got,
Yeah,
Anything
sure,
else?
come back to that.
okay, anything else you want to advise us or?
No, other than what has been brought up about Copper Ridge, attending with the residents there. I look forward to following that up with the rest of the board. Also, yes, attending Andre's safety meeting on Tuesday, which was informative as well for the really concerned neighbours with what's going on. So the Zello network that people are talking about, the Zello app sounds really interesting. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. It's like creating a walkie-talkie for your community. And so if you see what's going on, you're letting those on your particular app know what's going on.
We could have a community board intercom.
I know about that. We've got an email system that'll do it.
Depends on how the night is on there. We never stop. Yeah.
So the learning about the Zello app was really interesting as well. So and also Andre Marie and myself have met to talk about local issues. Also, I've been able to nail down a singer for Anzac service for next year for Halswell. We were at an opening at the Wigram Lamb and Hayward and noticed an amazing singer there. And so with the permission of one of the organisers, I was allowed to follow that up. So that's really fortunate because this year we were left to last minute and I was able to nail somebody down last minute for our Anzac service. So it's good to get somebody a year ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. And just to say, I'm very pleased that everyone attended an Anzac service. I understand they all went very well. And so it's a tribute to board members really that there's a very active community on sort of Anzac Day. Now, Mark had and then Tyler.
Thank you. Awatea Athletics is quite an exciting proposition that's come up in the past week. I got a phone call out of the blue from Helena Dennison. And then they've been asked by Canterbury Athletics to set up a club in the Wigram Halswell area. And they were given word from some council staff they couldn't use Napunawai, but they've moved them on to Takahu Park as an option. And they've got plans being drawn and I believe they had a site meeting today. They'll come to our next board meeting to update us where they're at. And I think it's a really exciting opportunity for our Wigram Halswell, and seeing how it's in Takahu Park, it's close enough to Hornby, we could possibly share, I don't know, see if the Halswell Council would appreciate sharing. So,
Joke.
yeah.
I'm going to chair the Hornby Community Care Trust back.
So the Awatere is a really exciting one. That keep an eye on that one, and thanks to Helena for calling and getting this underway. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. I've also been contacted by Yildhurst Park Village residents. They've got a problem around there with crime, which is not a uncommon theme these days. So what I've done is I've got a list of their street localities and passed that on to the Hornby Community Patrol, who have been in there and upping their patrolling, which is really good. So I'd encourage any board member, if you get contacted by people like our Awatere Gardens, make sure that the residents are interacting to the community patrol so they can then help keep an eye and really help get on top of this. Of course, with that, Andre's safety meeting at Halswell was really good. It was, I think it was refreshingly positive and some good outcomes and some good information was disseminated to the community. It was very useful for people to become aware of the community patrol and what it does and how it can help. And then also to understand from police that if you're not reporting this, it's not happening. So make sure you're reporting. So use the 111 if it's happening, or 105 if it's happened. And I think the simplicity of the meeting at Halswell went really well. Understand Bailey is working with the Greater Hornby-Riccarton Association. It's good to hear. And I believe there's quite a large list of organisations there, so it'll be interesting to see how that pulls together and whether that hui will be able to be kept so concise. Hopefully we can, because it's vital. We need that crime and safety meeting in Hornby. We've had far too much happening there. I'm already working to try and see if there's a way we can get the Hornby Police Station manned overnight. So we'll make some noises as high up the train as we need to try and get that happening. Because to have the Smith City broken into twice, right opposite the police station, is staggering. And for that not to be highlighted, there's a problem with the station not being manned. There's someone not joining the wires there correctly. So we'll try and get that resolved.
If I phoned them, I can't get through.
Yeah.
So it's what people are finding.
And that's frustrating members of the public.
That's what came out, wasn't it?
Yeah. So hopefully with these meetings we're having, we can help to upskill the residents to be reporting and to be supporting each other with neighbourhood support as well. And a good thing that came out of the Halswell meeting was about forming those neighbourhood support networks through things like Some With Your Neighbours. So I think if we can get that out of the back end of our Some With Your Neighbours funding in the coming year, that's a great way to move that forward. Oh yes, that was coming to that.
Oh, it's there.
So Andrea and I met with the secretary, I think she was, of the Hornby Community Patrol today. Anne, yes. And we're starting discussions on how we can look at the idea of, because they're looking to replace the Hornby Community Patrol vehicle right at the moment.
Replace it or add?
They're looking to replace, but we've had discussions, and hopefully at the board we can have further discussions around this, as to maybe we get to a point where perhaps we can purchase their existing vehicle so that they can keep it as a second vehicle to move into the Halswell area and have a Hornby vehicle as well, so that we don't lose the fully kitted out vehicle there is already. We can make sure that we expand rather than retrench. So the aim there is, with time, to try and get a Hornby Community Patrol and a Halswell Community Patrol so that we can cover patches more effectively.
More often.
When the Hornby Community Patrol was set up, it covered Halswell as well, but it was a village then. It's since swamped and become so much more than Hornby ever is. So we need to, I think, move with the times and realise that we need another patrol. So we're starting those conversations now. So thanks to Andre for joining.
Great idea.
And we'll keep teasing this forward. The time frame, I understand, is they're looking around the end of the year to get their new vehicle. So between here and there, I'm sure staff will be picking up and working with the community patrol to try and tease this forward so we can move this. So that's a good one for us to work on. I've also been contacted by residents in the Awatere Park, which is adjacent to Awatere Green. There's Awatere Park, which is Linear Way, is one of the main roads in there. And there's a playground in there, it's a nice little playground, but it lacks the basics. Like, it doesn't have a swing. It doesn't have a seesaw. It has some really nice modern looking climbing nets and stuff, but it doesn't have the real basics that kids through the ages of are looking to use, a seesaw and a swing.
I think they're a bit dangerous now, aren't they?
So,
I think that came up in their parks review.
so what they've done is the residents have approached, and they're forming a petition at the moment to try and come to us, and where we can get some advice out of recreation staff around their playground is are there options that we can look to,
So we-
perhaps land in probably the long-term plan is the best place.
So we did just
That's right.
advice from park staff, and we feed back into what was the priorities in the
That's right.
board area for the
Yep.
parks and the development and that.
That one probably didn't come into it because it's fairly new.
They came to us, didn't they, sometime about a year ago about the four, they wanted to know whether we wanted to prioritise four major,
It was an old horse, I think.
Well, there was, they had a program, didn't they, and said, but this can be reordered.
can either do lots of little things or four big things. That's what they were saying. We decided to go the four big
I'll see
things.
if I can find that material
Yeah.
around that and see.
That's kind of an action
Yeah,
point.
I'll be saying now that this is any away one wouldn't have existed in those days, but it's a brand new
No,
subdivision.
this was
Yeah, well, this wouldn't have been on the radar because this is a brand new subdivision with a brand new
Okay.
playground, which is just lacking some of the basics.
Oh,
So the residents that have come and I'll work with them further to take this further. And I guess just to be aware in open transparency, the mayor has been busy visiting some locations in Hornby. He's visited the new principal of Hornby High School, which was really good to get a chance to meet with him before he even started his job. So thank you to Ian Murray for that. He also went and had a meeting with the Waterloo Business Park.
Yes.
I'll talk to that.
The importance of the Horswell, you were there for that, I think, yeah. Horswell Junction Road extension, and how important that is to them. Yeah, I think Sam McDonald was there as well.
Yeah,
Boyd.
good, yeah.
So they,
Watch out the meeting, but it was fun.
I mean, the good thing that meeting brought was it brought a focus to some other councils and the mayor of the importance of that little stretch of road. And then on top of that, through the annual plan hearings process, we heard from Mr. Duff that perhaps it was an idea for the mayor to meet with Russell Wills on Waterloo Road and sit in his lounge and feel the vibration. So that meeting is happening tomorrow as well. So that'll be an interesting one for the mayor to sense what is needed on Waterloo Road. So just it's good to see him out here and showing some love to the western suburbs. And
Yes, actually,
hopefully get some action.
different, yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Gamal, and then Henk, and then Tyler.
I'm aware that the pedestrian crossing in Queens Avenue is underway, and I just wanted to request more information on how the design looks like and what's the more information on where exactly the location.
That's right. And is it about to start, Tyler, or is it?
Well, we're working out a sort of permanent design, so the kind of, the board priority was that there be a safe pedestrian sort of facility there.
right, yeah.
And now they're sort of actually working out the project of what that will be, what the design of that will be. So we have a new project manager.
Could we ask them to actually consult the mosque on this?
They have.
Or they have.
But I just wondered if there is any design or any information about have they have got any idea how that was still.
I'm not sure, to be honest, Gamal, but I think they will probably have options that could take this form or that form sort of thing.
Thank you.
I've asked the officer to see about.
Tyler, wasn't it?
I've asked the officer to see about that. And to put that into perspective, I actually went to the mosque on Saturday to do a bike for peace and literally witnessed a near miss of a 3-year-old toddler nearly being hit by centimeters. It was hectic. So I've asked for the film for that from Masa and seeing how we can actually look to promote safer crossings and neighbourhoods around that area. They haven't come back to me yet. That's quite substantial because it's under a different funding pot. I believe it's under SURF funding. No, CRAF funding. Under CRAF.
Which is the extra funding from government.
It's under CRAF, so I'm going to tell them to try and prioritise that as fast as they can, because at the same time, there are sports goers parking on the berms,
I know.
and crossing the road really dangerously in that
Very
area.
dangerous.
So,
I agree.
they're currently working on a safer neighbourhoods project, of which I've asked questions about, because the other end of Dean's Ave, which is closer to the Kilmarnock area, is actually being implemented to a 30k, 30 or 40k to my belief.
Okay.
It's close to the girls' high, but nothing the mosque end.
No.
Of which there's a lot of foot traffic, there's a lot of rubbing points, there's too much going on there. So I have asked for an inquiry. They're going to come back to me next week on that. I'm just letting you know, Sheikh. But that was everyone was shaken up from seeing that near miss. It was hectic. It was one of the worst I've seen. And the girl that actually broke, and I want to give a shout out to her because she was really active in the way that she stopped. She was going the appropriate speed and she did brake, but she skidded for a good 1.5 2 meters. So that could have very well have been something bad if someone was speeding. And there is a lot of boy races around that area. And so kudos to her. She actually had the bravery to go up to the mosque and actually want to talk to the mother. And she was actually a hero, to be honest. She saved that little girl. So just a shout out to her. I tried to ask for her name and her phone number, but she ran away before I could get it. She was a student from Dunedin. Awesome girl.
She'd be quite shocked, actually.
She was shaking. Yeah, and I think everyone was too, seeing that. It was tough. But the sorry, it's okay. Sorry. The next thing is update. I guess elected member update around the numbers so far. So I've solved 30 issues, local issues. Now it's gone up 8.
Right.
There's still one outstanding, and that's that tree one. I haven't actually actioned yet. And attend all meetings or briefings. Let's go. Just letting everyone know that. But the big thing I want to talk about here today is I had a meeting. I've been having meetings with multicultural communities and ethnic communities, particularly around funding applications. And they have come up with one big issue, and that issue is the lack of their lack of knowledge around the use of the English language. They are kneecapped by being able to understand our language and providing quality funding applications, which puts a lot of strain on our advisors to be able to reword things. So what I've done is I actually spoke at a panel discussion talking about the value of AI, of artificial intelligence. And I use it in a lot of my business that I do. It actually streamlines a lot of my work. I don't copy and paste. I reword what they give me. But what I'm going to do is I just want to show you something quickly. Is what I've done is I said, provide a business case for a funding application to the City Council local board for $3,000 for a gazebo. They then, within 20 seconds, provided me an executive summary, introduction, description, benefits, budget, risks, and conclusion, all within the matter of 20 seconds. I'm not saying that they should copy and paste this. I'm saying that they could reword that and provide more strength to that, or the advisors could actually save themselves time and reword whatever was in front of them. That saves staff time, that saves our community groups time, but it bolsters their application by being able to navigate the English language. On top of that, they can use their own native tongue, type something in that language and say, type this in English. So that right there, makes them equal to, obviously, the really well-structured, supported New Zealand community groups that we've got here. So now we're bringing them up to the same level as everyone else, which means that they all aren't going to be kneecapped by their tongue.
Is that what they feel?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a huge issue with that, and our young people are becoming more illiterate. Studies have shown that because of autocorrect and various other means.
If you look at the educational standard,
it's tough, but that's a whole nother ballgame. But action point. What I would like this to be put into the minutes if possible. Faye, just the link, for them to just click on it and be like, this is what the resource is. I've also sent you an email around a resource around funding. So there was the ex-CEO of Vodafone. She wanted to test out AI with the average funding applications. She said that it worked really well. It took her 9 minutes on average to reword a lot of other things after they did it. Now, this is a new ball game. This is new for us. This isn't something that's an old thing, and it can become quite scary at times, particularly for university lecturers. But this is a really, a place that hasn't been navigated before, and it's something that I think that our staff are really well equipped to do, to be able to provide advice on these funding applications. Therefore, I would just kindly ask if that's okay, we can talk about that in a second. But
Well, I'm just wondering if we should actually request that staff advise groups of this.
Yeah.
You know, rather than, you know, put it in the
Sure.
minutes, I know don't want to look at.
I'm about to tell you something else too.
What can Marie might be able to.
Can I just make a
Best way
comment
of
on that?
handling this.
Yep.
Because this is something actually that Bailey and I were talking to Viviana Zanetti, who is the new multicultural advisor at council, about support today. We were discussing it today, and about the possibility of the AI. Yes, it is a possibility. I will also say that I have received a funding application that a people group did with AI, and I needed to get considerable clarification on it because it was all over the place, and I struggled to understand because the English that was used, it actually didn't do them any service. It actually did them a disservice in the application.
And I'll talk to you about that.
Yeah.
So the thing
we
with
we can make it available, and Viviana is having a look at ways to make, because she attended to her at the weekend. She is looking at ways to make the funding application process easier for multicultural groups.
yeah, that's a common, that's always happened.
So
But what I'm saying is,
now, what do you want us to do? Do you want
Yes.
us to investigate, or do you want us to come up with a proposal?
we can hold that, just table that, Faye, that's fine. But what I'm wanting to say is, I am going to be looking at running an elected members workshop
Yes.
on AI and funding applications. This will be independent because I don't want staff to get all up in a huff about it because I don't want to add more work. So what I'm saying is I'm going to be running something for the community groups that have been in touch with me. But I'm going to show them how to word things because that's the big issue. If you fill up a cup and you only put a couple of droplets in it, you're only going to get a couple of droplets worth of drink. So you need to actually shape that wording to make it applicable, feasible, and actually. So there are many small things about that. I'm sort of a guru in the AI space, but I'm keen to work with Marie and Faye and Bailey and Noella on different things and how we can navigate that.
Thank you.
Yep.
And certainly, in a previous work role, I worked a lot with Maori and Pacific Island groups back then, and we used to write funding applications sometimes for them. Now, I'm not sure that was totally kosher, but it's sort of what we did.
Yeah.
And so we'd do it almost on the phone. Once we knew the group, we'd do it. Yeah.
So the proposed workshop is the 30th of June, most likely going to be at the Upper Riccarton Library. I've emailed and asked. I'm waiting for a reply, but maybe we can talk about that, Marie, too.
That's great.
Can I just say that when we do with quite a few groups, we have brought them into this room, sat down with them with their laptops and helped them fill in the application here, and just said not just one person come in, get multiple people to come in and get it up. Jamal has seen us do it.
Okay, so now I'm aware we're sort of running out of time. So if we want to finish by about 7:07, Joe, I just want to mention that we've got Matthew Pratt's farewell tomorrow, 4:30 to 6 at the Halswell Bridge. I think people have applied. There's one or two people who can't go, but if you turn up at any point in that time, between 4:30 and 6, staff are invited. But, and I don't know if they can mention Matthew Pratt's acting for John Stewart present.
Oh yeah, I can talk to that, but I'll do that after the meeting.
After the meeting. Okay. Now we haven't got on to this issue of Popper Ridge and the Halswell people. Has anyone got any bright thoughts over the last hour or so? What do we do? We have to do something. Yeah.
They want information and answers from council.
That's right.
They're going to send you questions presumably tomorrow or the day following.
Good.
They've given us questions tonight. They've asked if we can stop the process. The only the only thing that we can affect are the streets.
Yes.
And access to the streets. That happened once before in Noble subdivision, didn't it? But we're talking about, you know, you know, they have got considerable concerns. And they have mentioned several breaches.
They are going to send those through, and I'll be sending them on for a response, which will be circulated with the board as soon as possible.
Are they sending them through? I thought that was.
But I just want to be clear. I just want to be clear on what the action is.
So are you into
that we?
Are you central?
Tyler and Marie are going to speak with their contacts. We're having a briefing at our briefing session with Kainga Ora. Do people want? Do people want to meet with our planning staff before that?
Yeah, I think so. It's all relative. It's
I think
the same subject.
I can't guarantee that.
No, I know.
I prefer to get answers in writing.
I don't think
Get answers.
that will satisfy. I think we need.
We could still meet too, but the priority is getting them answers.
Actually, it's a, and I'm sure looking at those consents, they've been very valid.
Yeah.
So it's just that we need to understand what the plan is and how it's impacting them, I think.
Are they explained in the letter that you convey from the mayor's office? Does that deal with the detail of the consent?
Not great specifics.
Okay.
But
I'll come back to those.
yes, the mayor's office has emailed them 11:20 this morning.
Yeah.
As
Keep that trail going.
the resident's going to respond with their questions.
And then we can get it,
They'll get a response to those
Work from
specific
there.
points around consent.
Yeah, and I
They've got the answers that they are after.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think though
That's
that they won't
important.
be,
That's
I mean, I
priority.
know this
Yeah.
number like 15 and 30, but it's never, we can't keep to that because it's not a rule. Tyler, have you got it?
I can provide some action points that are quite simple and easy to read from the
Go
public.
for it. Does it follow through with some AI?
No,
Make it easy.
unfortunately not.
Right, you're contacting.
So what's happening is I'm going to give you the senior relationships and stakeholder managers email.
Mhm.
You can then set up a meeting between whoever is interested here. So that's you and Kainga Ora set up, done. The next action point is about Andre sorting out some stuff with the local, with our council.
Yes.
And the planning team about what feedback they've got on the Kainga Ora plan, done. That's the council side. And the next side is obviously the resident side, of which we need to update the information that we get from Kainga Ora after you've met with them, council after you've met with them, and then the information goes to the resident.
Yeah.
Done.
Can I ask?
So look, I'm keen to get
You okay with that?
with us and the planning staff.
Can I ask that we're all copied in on those emails?
Yes.
Like,
Yes, I don't think I've got it from the meeting. I've got
just so we're not doubling up.
Yeah.
So
the mayor's
Tyler,
office.
I don't think we need to
Zoe
form an
and-
action, but I
and
can
James
invite
have the
planning
same
staff.
control.
We come try and get planning staff.
Yeah,
Mark,
Seniors.
I'll tell you about after.
Because one of the problems I think we've got is that with the planning staff, they will be dealing with private developers for these resource consents. They're not dealing with Kainga Ora.
Yeah.
So private developers are going to sell it on. So there is that disconnect. I don't know how we're going to capture this
I mean, that's
being
still-
Kainga Ora when it's not actually Kainga Ora when the
It's
resource
still
consents
after-
going through.
The other thing is
Can we
my
just clarify
understanding
planning
is
staff consents planning?
consent, oh, yeah, no,
Different planning.
it's consent. Senior
my
consent, like
understanding
Mark
is that this
Stevenson.
was a restricted discretionary
Not
activity,
Mark
so there are
Stevenson.
only very
John
limited
Higgins?
things that
No,
staff
Paul
can
Lowe.
actually assist.
Full loan.
And it wouldn't have been.
Consent manager.
They wouldn't identify it.
Okay.
No, but it shouldn't make any difference.
You're wanting
Development's
to
a
finish,
development.
aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're not going to-
Yeah, so I've got someone who's wanting to finish.
Cool.
And we did say we'd finish at 7.
Do we need to finish the meeting first?
So, thank you, everybody. Karakia, thank you. Andre.
Sorry.
Is it up on screen?
Yep, sorry. Apologies.
Una hea, ke te uru, tapu nui, kia wātia, kia mama, te nākau, te tina, te wairua, I te ara, te kata, koe rā e rongo, whakarira ake ke rongo.